If you've got a passion for pumpkin, you've got to get to Dunkin' and pick these up. Our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam. And our delicious pumpkin spice signature latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. And our perfectly pumpkin donuts, munchkins treats, pumpkin muffins, and more. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Pick your pumpkin at Dunkin', like our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew, pumpkin spice signature latte, and our perfectly pumpkin treats. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2. Add a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
Give me a name. Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Just stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live here on the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, King of Banter, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's up?
Should we run a half hour longer to interfere with another podcast? And
we're starting pretty late here. I don't know. Are we going at anyone's throat here? Who's live right now? I know Impact is live usually on Thursday nights, but I don't know if we're directly with them. But yeah, we should probably. Yeah, why not?
Who's our podcast enemy that we have to counter program?
Direct.
Like
yeah.
SmackDown.
Huh.
Like, should we do a half-hour extension, talking Flagship to counter fucking Between the Sheets and get those bastards?
Oh, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, I don't know if I can go. They got like 4 additional hours on us.
That's true. What's killing them for a half hour gonna do?
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
gonna run for 5 hours. Anyway.
So what we can do is we'll start a show next. So next week's live Voice of Wrestling Flagship will start at 2 a.m. and we'll go for Observer Radio because they post that at that's 3 a.m. right? That thing goes up.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go after Dave and Brian?
Yeah, let's just all stay up at, because they record at the absolute latest possible hour, right? That's the funny thing with Dave's stopwatch, right? Isn't it on it's 1:36 or something like that? The infamous Dave Meltzer stopwatch.
Yeah, which I don't know why he doesn't just reset the alarm.
Yeah, it's a very for people that, I mean, this is real deep in the weeds for people that aren't aware of this, on Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer has some sort of, it's a stopwatch. It's not an alarm. It's a stopwatch, like a legit, the stopwatch that he uses to time the shows, which he, still does with the stopwatch. And it just goes off randomly during Observer Radio sometimes. And Brian's like, Dave, your stopwatch is going on. He's like, oh yeah, it does that. Brian's like, can we turn it off? Dave's response is always, yeah, it does that.
How do we make it not do that?
Right, Brian's like, well, is there a way that we can have it not go off during the middle of the show? And Dave's like, no, it's the time's all screwed up on it, so it goes off at 1:35 or whatever.
Why doesn't he? Maybe he needs it for. Maybe it reminds him to do something at 1:35 on
every week. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But then he could keep it in another room, though, right?
It seems like that's an option. Yeah, that it reminds me as well of the infamous battery backup that Dave had for a long time.
I thought that was smoke alarms with bad batteries.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah. And I think that has appeared on a Voices of Wrestling.
Has it?
It has. Yeah, it definitely has.
When
at least in my old apartment. I don't know if it does in this current setup that we have now, but definitely in the old apartment. I'm positive it went off.
When I lived alone, they all started beeping, and what I did was I couldn't figure out which one was beeping and all that. So I literally ripped them all out of the wall to the point where they weren't able to
I don't like that
anymore.
strategy. That's not a great strategy, actually.
Yeah. So, years later, TLB moves in with the kids, and she's
Oh,
like, no,
how
this is
long
not
did you
gonna-"
live without?
The whole time I lived alone, basically. Like as soon as so she's like, no, this is not gonna. No, you got to
She's
get
right.
you got to get somebody in here, and because like I just ripped the wire, like just ripped them off the wall, like wires and all. Very irresponsible. But yeah, that she's like, no, you need to get that fixed.
Yeah, that's
today.
Yeah, that's
she's
not.
like, I don't care who you get, you need to make a phone call. I'm like, all right, I'll get it done.
She's
She's
right.
like,
She's
no,
right. She's right.
today.
Yeah,
you
so
are
like,
getting
okay,
that
so
done."
wait, hold on. So the battery was out, or you just didn't replace the
So-
battery?
Yeah. So what happened was, I think the batteries, the initial batteries that came with the house in the gimmick.
Sure, and they have like I think when you buy it, it tells you that this is the day when it's going to go. Like they know it to a science. I think of like this will last you 5 years, and then it's going to go off because you need to change it. As a way to kind of remind yourself. Like there's always those different things. Like hey, when you for daylight savings time, like check all your batteries and stuff. But I think they actually have something that says okay, from now until 5 years from now, it's going to you need to change your alarm or you need to do that or whatever.
So one would like go off, and I would try to find which one it was, because it always sounds like it's coming from the one you think it is, but it's not. It's just the whole thing. And then they all started going.
I feel like it's not that big of an issue, but
then they all started going off. Like I'd figure out, I would determine which one was that I fixed, and then another one, and then another one. So I got like 8 or 9 in the house, I guess. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I got mad and I just ripped them all out of the fucking ceiling, and that was the end of that. So
when we say rip, are we talking just like gentle like slide, or did you just like rip them out?
No, I ripped them out of the ceiling through like the wires snapped in half.
Okay,
like,
yeah,
just
that was
ripped them out of the ceiling because they would not stop fucking beeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then,
I guess I appreciate that for audio on the Voice of Wrestling flagship, but yeah, for your safety, I don't know if that was a great idea.
I could have just changed the batteries. Right?
That's what I'm saying. I just don't understand why that didn't go through your head at any point.
Well, I have my ways. So the point is
it a battery issue? Like, do you not have batteries?
I don't know what it was.
Okay.
All I know is it stopped when I ripped them out of the wall. So TLB moved in, and that got corrected like immediately. That wasn't going to fly. Although I will tell you, there is one near the kitchen that even she agreed, okay, that one doesn't.
We have one that I before we cook something particularly oily or whatever.
Yeah.
Stand on the chair. That one's out. It goes into the outside. It goes onto the deck. Yeah. It's not getting because it's just every single time. If anything is cooked with oil, I'm convinced that at one point during this show, ours is going to go off because the nurse is cooking right now, and there's almost. I mean, anytime we cook with like cast iron or whatever, that thing's off in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? So
this one is so sensitive.
I apologize in advance if it goes off. So.
Even if my oven's on, like half the time.
Yeah. If I go over 425 on my oven, it's off. And it's like, oh come on, there's nothing smoking. Like, what are you doing? Heat, like general heat. Did you know that humidity can turn those on too?
Oof.
Yeah, discovered that this year during some particularly humid Chicago days because there was one I changed the batteries. It kept beeping. It was going off like crazy, and the dogs go nuts. They're hiding and shaking or whatever. And I fixed the batteries. I put it back up. Right back on it. That I will admit, in this household there was a day and a half or whatever where they were just outside. So in the garage too, because I wasn't sure if they were going to turn on outside. So I dug with the garage. I put them in like a pile in the garage just in case like it was too loud and the neighbors got annoyed. So
yeah, it's but you get married to the right person, they straighten you out.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the nurses like turn those things off. Like, get those in the garage. I don't care. We don't have children, or we do have the dogs, but we have a thing on the window to let the firemen know if they come that there are 2 dogs in the house. Do you have one of those to let people know who's in the house?
The sticker on the door. The dog, the classic dog sticker.
Yep.
I have to tell you, I forgot those existed until right this moment.
We have to get ours we have to replace it a while because it'll lose a little bit, and like I'll look at it and be like, we got to replace this pretty soon. It's kind of starting to fade, and then it's like fading. And I'm like, we got to replace it. We have to. If a fire came tomorrow, and the fire department showed up, they would not know that we have 2 dogs in this house. So they need to know today that there are 2 dogs in this house. So
I don't think I've seen one of those since like 1989. That's incredible.
Were you alive in the era where people would put up the blue star in their house? Do you remember the blue star? Or was that just strictly a Chicago thing? I think it was if you were being like if there was like an attempted abduction or something like that, you were to put and somebody can correct me. Maybe it's a Chicago thing. I have no idea. Maybe somebody in the chat room's listening will remember this. You would put this thing up in your window, and I could have a completely wrong interpretation of this, but my interpretation was you would put this thing up in your window, and if you were like if there was like an attempted abduction or something was going on or whatever, you could run to a house that had the blue star and they would, take care of you or whatever. Even as a kid, I was like, wouldn't an abductor just put the blue star up? Like,
listen, okay.
It feels like an inside job. It just feels like a way to have an inside job happen very easily.
Wait. Let me see if I'm understanding.
Okay,
this.
And again, my interpretation could be absolutely wrong on this, but that was at least what the interpretation I had. So
wouldn't it be you'd flick on this blue bulb and it would alert?
No, it was like it was like it was like a paper star that you would put in your window. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you have.
I admit it was weird, but let's.
You have a home invasion. Let me see if I'm following.
No, I think it was for children. It's like if you were walking home from school, and a man would show up in a Sprinter van or an Astro van and was trying to pick you up. You could run it to if your house was 7 blocks away and you knew you couldn't get to your house in time.
Like I have a blue star, my house is safe.
Right, you can come to my house. I will help you from this person. So you would know that.
Why wouldn't the creep with the blue star?
Even as a kid, I was just like, I feel like if there was just like 2 creeps, they could be like, hey, you chase the kids and I'll put the star in my window and then they'll come in.
Yeah.
And I thought that even as a kid, so I mean, even if it arose, I wasn't going to go to a blue star house. I was like, nah, that seems even more weird.
Right, you wait for the kid to get close to your house and then get on your. This is the 80s, so get on your walkie-talkie and tell the guy in the creep van, all right, come around the corner now, offer him the candy, and he'll come into our house. And yeah, I totally see why you would think that. That sounds like a really dumb idea. That can't be a real thing?
I think I'm yeah, I don't know. I could be misremembering, but yeah, I don't recall exactly how it was, but yeah, there was that. I don't know how do we start talking about blue stars and
I don't know. We were talking about
work.
Counter programming between the sheets, WWE style, because that's what's happening Friday, Rich, as the war, as some are calling it.
Yes, yeah, we got a big Friday Night's War. I essentially just in our topics and run sheet just said wrestling is back, baby, because this is a full on. This is classic, man. This is the classic stuff, and this is what we told people when they were, when AEW was first starting, and people were like, I don't, 2 companies and they're throwing jabs at one another. We're like, no, this is good for everybody. Everybody is going to succeed from this. Viewers are going to succeed from this. Wrestlers are going to succeed from this, and it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot more fun. And we got something like this. I mean, this isn't awesome. What's going on this weekend? I mean, they've been, quote unquote, throwing some jabs here and there, some lefts and rights, and some, just kind of working each other over the last 2 years. And it feels like, I don't know what's gotten into them, but I guess it's maybe Dynamite doing better, Rampage doing better. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is, for a while, it just felt like AEW kind of, throwing a little punches here and there, and WWE kind of just protecting, a little rope-a-dope. But they're ready to swing back, man. They are pissed off, and that is Friday Night Wars is what we got this week, because we have SmackDown going to FS1 because of the playoffs, so from the MLB playoffs. So SmackDown is going to FS1. It's going to be 2.5 hours, so they're adding an additional half hour, as you kind of alluded to earlier. That half hour will be commercial-free as well, which is a very interesting strategy here, one that I'm very curious on FS1's thoughts on that. But, it's FS1. They might not care. They honestly... A few days ago, somebody texted me and they were playing Poker Stars Shark Cage at like 7 p.m. on a weekday. So I don't think FS1 cares. If they're commercial free, probably, I guess. But so you got SmackDown coming on FS1, 2.5 hours. The SmackDown show is pretty loaded. You got Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. You got Finn Balor, Sami Zayn. That's a King of the Ring semifinals. Carmella and Zelina Vega. Well, they're not all winners. Queen's Crown semifinals. Sonya Deville, the in-ring return of Sonya Deville versus Naomi, plus an appearance by Brock Lesnar. So that's a pretty loaded SmackDown. What do you think of what they're offering here?
I mean, they're doing it right. If their goal is to, first of all, ensure that they win. That's number one. I think after Dynamite beat Raw a couple of times in the demo, they had to be embarrassed about that, and they did take notice. And, Rich, we probably have to take a rare L. I think that we kind of bought Nick Khan's bullshit.
Yeah. I was wondering if we were going to do that, because we don't usually. We are very good at when we get something right, we let you know, and we lap and we do a Barry Horowitz pat on the back or whatever, but very rarely. But we're pretty wrong about this one, so I think it's fair for us to take an L on this one.
I could totally see how he can walk into a boardroom and get his way. I mean, but I feel like maybe even if it's his personal style to pay attention to his own house and not worry about competition, there's no way he was going to, and our whole thing was, maybe he's convinced Vince that this is the way.
right. And, and we shouldn't, it's not impossible that he did, but it's possible that Vince was like, all right. And then for like a month and a half, Vince was like, all right. And then Vince woke up one day and was like, God damn it, no. You know what I mean? Like, that's very possible. Yeah.
You're not wrong, but I think you're skirting the L. Let's just take the L. Fine. I think you're trying to skirt the L here. The bottom line is this. They clearly view it they're no selling AEW is what they're doing. And, we had a conversation with, I don't know, you weren't around that day. Did you see the conversation I had with someone who would absolutely know that information?
Yes.
And he told us,
yes,
the Godfather. And he told us, he's like, look, they absolutely consider it competition. I'm like, well, and I said, well, who's the one?
You were given a yes, they care, and then a one-word answer to this next question you're going to ask, or a two-word answer, I should say.
I said, all right, well, whose strategy is it to no-sell AEW completely and behave as if they're not competition? And Rich, what was that one-word answer?
Well, or two. It was Nick Khan, I believe, or just Khan. I forget if it was it just. Did it just say Khan? Oh wait, no. You're right. Sorry.
Damn, I set you up for the big.
I forgot it was. Yes, right.
I lobbed it up for you.
No, are you sure? I don't know if that was the answer.
You look right now. I promise you, it says now. Vince.
Let's see here. Get the name. The person who DM'd us, their name is. No, I'm just kidding. Oh shit, you're right. Okay.
Yes, Vince.
I've taken a lot of L's here. Yes.
Yeah.
One word. Vince.
Yeah. So, they absolutely care, and Vince is still the boss. And you can see that. So getting back to my point, number one, they want to make sure that they win. That they even though they're only overlapping with this extra half hour that they tacked on, they want to make sure that on Friday night, SmackDown has more viewers than Rampage. And I think it's pretty much a lock that SmackDown's going to win in terms of total viewers. I mean, first of all,
I mean, it's a pretty big gap.
It's a huge.
Weeks.
Listen,
yeah.
I'm not looking at the Brandon Thurston spreadsheet, $5 Patreon for Brandon's Patreon, which is tremendous if you're into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, patreon.com/WrestleNomics.
Subscribe to ours too. But
patreon.com/Voice of Wrestling.
I'm in the ballpark when I say that the last 3 SmackDowns on FS1 have done about 800,000 viewers, 888,000 viewers, and I think the third one did 1 million viewers, the one on December or whatever it was. If I'm not exact, I'm in the ballpark. If you look at the last month of Rampage, they're not even approaching the lowest of those numbers. Now, you do have to factor in that with SmackDown running the extra half hour, I do think that's going to hurt their overall average.
Right, they're stretching out their viewership over a longer period of time. So that could play a factor.
But I still think that they'll win in total viewers. I think the demo could be closer, but SmackDown has the obvious advantage of being on in primetime and Rampage being on at 10 p.m. So my official prediction is that SmackDown wins the total viewership rather handily.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the way that they've approached this show and they've publicized this show and the people and the names and stuff, to me, I think it is. And I think Rampage, what they're kind of countering with, and we'll talk about that in a sec, is more, trying to maybe hurt that overall number a little bit. And I get it. I get what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to do with the buy-in. And it's great. For us, it's great. We're getting a Bryan Danielson Minoru Suzuki match because of this all. And it's a cool, it's a nice 1-2 punch. It's a nice jab. It's a nice return. I don't watch boxing enough to give you great boxing terms here. Some not, what's... Al Bernstein, isn't it Al Bernstein? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he's a boxing guy. If that's the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, he's one of the guys I'm thinking of. Yeah, he still does stuff. But
Freddie Pacheco.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's the guy I was actually trying to think of. Yeah, because he's like the more gravelly voice guy, right?
Max Kellerman, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, some Max. Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm like my boxing, much like my hockey. I pretty much stopped watching boxing in like 1997, so that's pretty much my frame of reference for boxing. So I was probably pre-Kellerman, but definitely because Al Bernstein is more like the studio guy, right?
No, he's an analyst and he's still around. He's open to MMA too. Like he's not one of these boxing guys who's like MMA.
The other guy you mentioned is very gravelly, though, right? He sounds like he's got a cigar in his, like an unlit cigar in his mouth. Yeah, right.
What about a little Lou Duva?
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Okay. Little Jim Lampley on Play.
I know. Yeah, Jim Lampley. That's a good combo there. Jim Lampley on HBO Sports or whatever. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's my favorite reference for boxing ever. Yeah, I have not watched I think I watched the McGregor Mayweather fight for about 10 minutes and said this is boring and then stopped watching that. So
now that we played name some boxing
name some boxing announcers. Yeah, that'll get the viewers for sure. People will be really excited about name boxing commentators. But I think they've done a SmackDown. I think has really brought a very good show to the table, and it's I think it's very, very similar to something that we have talked about many, many times. And I know Brandon Thurston, again, to mention him at WrestleNomics, he has sort of brought it up this week as well and last week with the MLB playoffs, and we've been on this theory since day one of Dynamite and day one of AEW, is that it always seems that no matter what's going on in the world, whether it be an election, a big news day, a big sports day, or whatever, it always affects AEW a lot more. Your standard AEW viewer very often is thinking, okay, there's a big game on, so I'm going to watch the big game instead. And again, that's not AEW. That's not good. It's not. I'm not making that as an excuse. Like, it's something that, like, ideally you want that fan to say, I don't care if there's a great baseball game on. I want to watch AEW. And I think there was a time, or there was a little bit of momentum for that, during the regular season of a lot of these sports. But we've seen so far at the baseball playoffs that people have, in large part, said, nah, I want to watch baseball playoffs. And that might be lessening now that we're, out of the division series. Some big markets are gone. You're left, at this point with some big markets, but maybe some teams that don't, necessarily have the cachet that, like the Houston Astros. I don't know how many people are really going to want to watch the Astros in the ALCS. Maybe a bunch of people want to watch the Red Sox beat them. People are going to, of course, start watching the Red Sox. That's going to be a big deal in the Northeast. The NL will try to figure out what ends up happening there between LA and San Francisco or whatever. But, like, I don't know. AEW seems to always be affected by sports, by news, by a big political night, by whatever, and SmackDown and WWE really doesn't. So that's where maybe the idea that, okay, people are going to be watching baseball instead. They're going to be watching whatever instead of AEW. Where SmackDown, again, like, because I'm with you, I think that SmackDown is going to win ultimately.
Well, the baseball is going to beat both their asses.
I mean, of course, baseball's been nuts. Baseball's been nuts this year so far.
Yeah. So. But I mean, you just look at the Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, that is among, like, the matches that you can make in that company right now. Among the, like, quote unquote dream matches, top draws, or whatever. I mean, that's got to be your top five, right? One of your top fives, Becky Lynch versus Sasha, right?
Anyone who looked at my SmackDown ratings study that I wrote over the summer, looking at Roman Reigns, it was really Sasha Banks that was popping SmackDown whenever she would show up. And when she would go away, it would drop, and she'd come back and it would go up. She's a legitimate ratings draw. And that's a huge match. And then you have an appearance by Brock Lesnar. You have a King of the Ring match, a Queen of the Ring match. And I guess you have Sonya Deville, Naomi, which that's not any kind of drawing match, but it is a match that they've been building for a number of months. But yeah, that's a huge show. And then they're tacking on the extra half hour, and that half hour is commercial free.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is if you look at Rampage, they're not giving anything away. It is a typical Rampage. Ruby Soho versus The Bunny. CM Punk versus Matt Sydal. Another match where CM Punk faces a lower mid-card guy. He has faced Will Hobbs, Daniel Garcia, and now Matt Sydal. They're not putting Punk in there, with, pick your star of choice. Miro. Right.
Like, it definitely not a show. You look at that show, and it's definitely not a show that you're like, oh, wow. They like, I meant the counterpunch. The one counterpunch is the Danielson versus Suzuki on the buy-in, going to YouTube to maybe slow some momentum. But I think ultimately, other than that, it's pretty much just a paint-by-numbers Rampage.
No, it's the same Rampage they would have done whether they were countered or not. And that's what's interesting is WWE very badly wants to ensure that they win this. And I think it'll be, and I think that they will, but I also think it's more embarrassing for them if they don't. If they lose in any way, demo, the head-to-head half hour, because this is going to be sliced and diced and analyzed from every angle. Okay, we know that. They have to, with this lineup and the fact that they're going commercial free for that last half hour, I feel like they need to clean sweep and wipe the floor.
They have to destroy them. Yeah, I mean, if they're going, they're doing Brock Lesnar, they're doing Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, which we said is again like one of the top matches that company can do right now. And they're giving it away on a SmackDown or whatever. They have to dominate. I mean, I think that ultimately, I think that is probably what when we talk about in the room, in the AEW room, I think ultimately that is probably their bigger thing that they're anticipating is not necessarily beating SmackDown. I don't honestly think that they think that they're going to beat SmackDown. Maybe they do. I have no idea, but I honestly don't think they do. But I think it's more that, hey, look, they emptied the chamber. I mean, they went with Becky and Sasha Banks, and they brought Brock Lesnar out there, and they went commercial free, and they added a half an hour, and they did, this, and this or whatever, and that's all they got. Whatever that number is, that's all they got, and it's like, all right, cool. I mean, we're in their heads, and they're giving away big matches to try to counter program us. And again, this is all cool as fuck, by the way. This stuff all rules. But like that, I guess, would be in the room is what I look at is, okay, they're going to do all this stuff, and how much is it going to affect them? How much is it really going to do? And how much does that play into a factor of it? Because yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately what you do. I can't honestly think that they're going to get in that room and think that CM Punk and Matt Sydal is going to beat, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks or whatever, or Ruby Soho and the Bunny is going to be able to match Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. Like, there's just no way.
Oh, I agree. They can't. And now as far as the buy-in, what do you think the strategy is there? Because you can watch SmackDown and then watch YouTube on your phone or your tablet. So, I mean, I can't imagine it's going to take viewers away, but is it just to pick up momentum before Rampage and then get you to put on Rampage instead of watching that last half hour of SmackDown? I mean, what's the idea?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss as well. I was very surprised when I saw, Danielson Suzuki. Okay, cool, that's cool. It's gonna be on Rampage. It's on free TV. That whatever. And then I immediately I didn't even think to look deeper into the tweet. And then I look and I'm like, wait, the buy-in on YouTube. It's a little strange to me. I this might be one that we always look back on. Years down the line, we might look back and be like, can you believe they put something on YouTube? Like, it's just on YouTube, just on this random buy-in show or whatever. It's strange. I don't know. I don't know the exact reason. Like you said, there's nothing stopping most people from, say SmackDown, because they're going to have a monitor. You know what I mean? They're going to know what's going on, what time. They used to do it during the Monday Night Wars, too. Every announcer had a monitor by their feet when Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon were at the booth and look down and see what's on or whatever. And there's no doubt in my mind that when Danielson and Suzuki are, on the Rampage buy-in, that SmackDown's going to counter with something that they think that you're going to want to watch or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be Becky and Sasha. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think they're smart enough to not put, Sonya Deville and Naomi or Carmella and Zelina Vega in that spot. Not that those, but those matches aren't really going to draw that level. But, to the idea, put something on there that people are going to be interested in. And then, like you said, they can just pop up on their phone and they can watch the Danielson Suzuki match on their phone or on their tablet or on their laptop and keep SmackDown up. So I don't know that it's enough to, like, change a TV viewer because, like you said, there's they can just keep that show on and watch it on a second screen or whatever. So I don't know. It's an interesting strategy. I don't know if I totally get it either. Maybe we're missing something key here, or something big, or I don't know if
I mean, build hype.
Yeah,
it's to build hype.
Yeah.
I think it's to build hype, and because everyone's talking, I say everyone, but a lot of people are talking about that Danielson Suzuki match. So I don't think a certain kind of wrestling fan isn't going to want to miss that. So they're going to find a way to watch it, whether they're watching SmackDown or not. I just don't know if you're dyed in the wool SmackDown WWE fan is necessarily going to care about that match, but you're not winning that person over anyway. That person's watching SmackDown.
Yeah, you don't worry about that. Yeah, that person, the usually 55-year-old or so person or whatever, is probably not going to switch over no matter what. There's very little that's going to take them away from SmackDown, or they frankly just don't even care to watch AEW and any. I mean, I don't know if there's anything like you said. Those dyed-in-the-wool folks are probably just not going to leave ever.
At the end of the day, none of this matters anyway.
No,
I mean,
it's just all just shit talking and stuff. Yeah, it's
perception and it's perception and bragging rights for a couple of days is what it is. because it's not like these two shows are going to be going head to head every single week. Then we'd have something to sink our teeth into, like when Dynamite was going up against NXT. So this is a chance for one side or the other to, puff their chest out for a couple days or whatever. But from WWE's perspective, they must be feeling the heat, either from investors. Maybe they're afraid of what they're going to hear from investors on the next call, because AEW has been so successful that at this point it cannot be ignored. And I maybe they feel like they can't keep just no selling it, and something has to be done to kind of curtail it. And it all feeds into what we found out, which is that WWE are the ones leaking those fast nationals out to the news sites. And the reason that they would do that, I mean, is up for interpretation, but I think it's because they think that people will perceive Rampage as being weak, because the general public doesn't understand ratings expectations for Friday nights at 10 on cable or any of that stuff. Okay, so if they release those fast nationals, which are lower than the final numbers even, and it's a perception thing, word gets out that this Rampage show is failing or, dropping each week, and our show on the same night is doing, 2.2 million viewers. And to me, that's their angle with that. So if it's all about perception to them right now, then maybe it's just speaking to investors and to the general public and trying to say, hey, look, this is why we say they're not competition, because look how far ahead of them we are. We know that's disingenuous because, Dynamite's on in prime time 2 days earlier and continues to grow. But I think that's kind of their angle here, and why they want to make sure that they crush them this Friday. But I think it's also why they need to, or it's be a really bad look for them if they don't really put the foot on the throat and just destroy them.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the investors see the same articles that we see. You know what I mean? They know, what's going on. They see that stuff. They're aware of that stuff. And, maybe not all of them, but enough of them maybe that got them a little spooked, that, maybe an email got into a Nick Khan or Vince McMahon or something got forwarded on from a Fox executive or whatever, that, yeah, they see that stuff. They know. I mean, they're following that stuff, and it's a big time property on their network. If you think Fox just signs a check for $1 billion and goes, all right, you guys do whatever you want now, who cares? Like, no, I mean, they're keeping tabs on that, and yeah, perception is everything. So there is, it might make everybody feel a little bit better, or maybe internally WWE will send out an article of, and I'm just going to name a website. I don't want to get into this. So
one up.
Insert Wrestle News website here. WrestlingNews6969.net or whatever.
Jeez, you made fucking disgusting.
XXX Wrestling News 6999 or whatever.
Filthmonger.
Yeah,
that one might be taken.
That one might be taken. Yeah, I might want to look for that one. But that's maybe not forwarding that one. But Insert Wrestling News site here. Internally WWE might be able to that same person who, whether it be an investor, whether it be a network executive, whether it be whoever, they might be able to then forward on an email and say, hey, hey, look, I know you guys were a little bit worried, but look, yeah, we crushed them this week, or hey, they're struggling a little bit. That was kind of a 1 week anomaly. Yeah, we're crushing them type of thing. And like, don't put that past anybody. I mean, that honestly, as a company, as a competitive company, that's, you should do that. Good press you should be forwarded along good press. I do it for my company. If something good comes in about my company, everybody in the, I send it to my bosses and they send it to everybody. Hey, we were in this. Hey, we were in this. Hey, we were featured in this magazine. Like, that shit happens. Like, there's just, so don't think that it doesn't happen for rating stuff too, because everybody cares about that. Despite what, angry people tell you, everybody cares about the ratings. It's an important thing, but not everybody knows to study the business enough to know, okay, well, what's the normal? I mean, they just look and say, hey, the headline says AEW Rampage reaches record low or whatever, and SmackDown beats them by 2.1 million or whatever, and that's enough for a lot of people to go, okay, oh, cool, all right, our investment's wise then. We have a good investment, our property is doing good, okay, great, and they move on. That's a big deal. I mean, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's perception, like we've said a million times. I mean, that's why they're doing it, and I don't begrudge, by the way, any of the sites that are reporting these numbers. It's legitimate news.
No, I did see a lot of people say, like, oh, well, that means, like, this site sucks or that site's garbage, and that's not at all, like, the way that I would look at this.
Provided that the numbers are legitimate, which there's no reason to think that they're not, and provided that it's just being reported as news and it's not, there's no editorializing going on or anything like that. Um, and even if there is, honestly, I mean, you could have an opinion on these fast nationals if you want. Then I don't have a problem with these sites, no matter where they're getting it. It doesn't matter. It's news. As long as the numbers are accurate, who cares? Now, if someone's feeding you misleading or false information, not even talking about these ratings necessarily, and you're just running it blindly. But yeah, if they're giving this to these sites and they're double checking it and verifying it and it's legitimate numbers, that's news. It's news. I mean, Meltzer has he's had access to these for a while because he refers to certain cities a lot before the final numbers come out for Rampage. He has done that many times. And the only way to get that is to have access to those fast nationals, because it's like, X amount of the top X amount of markets in the country or whatever. So it's not like there aren't other ways to get it. If you have other sources in the television industry, you can get a hold of these. But what we do know is that WWE is, they're given because it's advantageous to them. Here's the thing. You never saw the Fast Nationals leak the way they've been leaking the last few weeks for the Punk debut.
Right.
Or for whenever it's been, Rampage has been number one on cable. Well, why do you think that is? Because it's not to their advantage to leak it in that instance.
Right. And the same thing, I mean, to be fair, the same thing happens on the other side too. There was a lot of times where, a Dynamite would finish, or, Dynamite would be done, and then the next day a lot of news sites would have a lot of reports about AEW numbers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here's and then there's sometimes where everyone's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They're not coming in yet. And like, again, yeah. Because that's, again, any company would do that. It's a smart thing to do to try to, accentuate your positives and hide your negatives. That's any company would do that, especially when it pertains to ratings. So yeah, it's both companies have done this sort of thing. Be, forthright with ratings when it's advantageous to them, and maybe not as much so when it's not. Especially when we saw that, especially when Sports Buzz Daily was down. And pretty much nobody had access to stuff for a little while there, and it was up to the companies to kind of release it if they wanted to. And yeah, AEW was forthright with a lot of the ratings, but not all of them. And a lot of times we found out quickly why they maybe weren't as forthright with it with a certain rating. And again, I don't know if it's as much malice as is on the WWE end, but it's a real thing that happened.
Yeah, for sure. But look, it'll be interesting. You've got this Rampage buy-in. We'll see if that drums up enough interest, and look, we're getting Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. Who would complain about that? And Bobby Fish versus Lee Moriarty. That'll be a great match too. So that's a really cool 1 hour. That's actually more appealing to me than either of the shows, than SmackDown or Rampage.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that buy-in is the two matches on there are incredible. I mean, you got, of course, Bryan Danielson and Minoru Suzuki, which we can't. I mean, that's just an all-time match that people have been asking for, in a dream match type thing. And Bryan Danielson had a great tweet this week, referencing a match back many years ago with those two. It's just like awesome stuff. I mean, like you've been saying it a lot. The American Dragon is back. This is so the American Dragon. Daniel Bryan is so far in the rear view. It seems like a completely different human being at this point. This is so clearly the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's like you almost forgot what that was like to have that guy.
It felt like it got beaten out of him. You know what I mean? It really did. Like, I would have told you for sure that, like, nah, that he's never getting that back. And it took like literally like a week. I mean, it's back. You know what I mean? It took that opening promo at All Out, and he was back. It just took the end of that promo, and he was back, and he was ready to go. And yeah, maybe it took a little getting in the ring there with Kenny Omega, but yeah, it was clear when that match was over. Like, oh, okay, this isn't Daniel Bryan. This is Bryan Danielson. This is the American Dragon. This is very similar to CM Punk. It feels like a guy who left one career behind when he went to WWE, and now has regained that career that he used to have or whatever. It really does. It really does feel that. Even more so with Bryan Danielson than CM Punk, I think. Really, because the work. This is American Dragon work. The way that he's talking is American Dragon talking. You know what I mean? He just wants to fight, Joe. He's not an underdog. He's not a goat. He just wants to beat ass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he just wants to fight and he wants to wrestle, and that's And that was what Bryan Danielson was. And it was kind of, there was a time, and I'm talking about it in the Yes Movement at patreon.com/voices of wrestling. There was a time where I didn't really like Bryan Danielson that much because I thought he was kind of boring because I was coming from a different world. And here's this guy who had nothing. I mean, those 2003, 2004 Bryan Danielson is just like dude who wrestles well. You know what I mean? Like that was the gimmick. And it took a couple years for him to really fully get that 2005 and the long title run and stuff. And then he became obviously a great character. But there was a long time when he was just guy who wants to wrestle. And like, we're kind of back there. You know what I mean? It's just like dude who likes to wrestle. And that's it. And it rocks. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And it didn't take him long to kind of invigorate himself in that way. So, because there were definitely, since his comeback, I haven't really been interested in him at any point when he returned from injury, and they immediately programmed him with Big Cass and then with the Miz.
Oh my God! Remember those shows when we got on here and we're just like, "What are you guys doing? That's a layup. He's coming back." Like,
yeah, I had no interest in any of that.
They did the "you're small" thing.
Yeah, and
right away.
And then he had he begged to turn heel because they blew the layup of all layup babyface runs, and then he did like the Eco Warrior thing, which a lot of people really liked, and I suppose it was really good character work from him. But I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent.
Well, I was kind of done by then, and that's I think the big thing that I just kind of completely de-invested in Daniel Bryan, and I thought I de-invested in the entire person. I thought I was just done with. I was like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not the same, and we're never going to get the same, and it's okay. Like he's having fun runs, he's having decent matches or whatever, but it's always going to be a guy that like I'm thinking, oh man, this guy used to just be so great, and now he's just this, which is fine, like it's whatever, but it's not this, and the idealized version of Bryan Danielson that I had is this one that we're seeing right now, and it's like, oh, okay, he does still have this. He was just beaten down and battered and was just trying to make the best of whatever situation he was in, and I think he probably did a decent job of that, like you said with the Eco Warrior thing or whatever. But at that point, I just didn't care anymore, and yeah, I've been proven wrong. That I just thought that was it. I thought that was all that he had, and he was going to play out the strings, and that was going to be his career, and then he'd go, hang out on his farm with Birdie or whatever. But no, he's the American Dragon Bryan Danielson again, and it rules.
Yeah. So and he's wrestling Minoru Suzuki, which looks pretty fucking cool on paper.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And yeah, if you don't think and that's the thing too, like if you think that Minoru Suzuki, who I get a lot of people have been saying like, his AEW stuff's been kind of so, or I'm not really in love with it or whatever. And I'm with you. There's been some good, some bad or whatever. I don't think Bryan Danielson's gonna let this guy not have a great match. You know what I mean? Like he's telling him right now, just beat the fuck out of me. Just beat the hell out of me. Like, I don't care. We're going 25 and you're going to beat the hell out of me. No, we're not going 10 minutes. No, I hope Minoru can do it. I hope physically he can do it. I guess this will be a big test, but there's no doubt in my mind that Danielson's going to say, let's go out there and let's do something special. Danielson doesn't want to have a 10-minute match with Minoru Suzuki.
Here's the thing though. I haven't loved the Minoru Suzuki stuff in America. Like, he has the presence. There's no question about that.
Right now it's, and I don't mean this to be like, mean or whatever, but right now it's like an entrance and a move or two and a look or two. But once the bell rings, it's not as great as you think it would be.
No, I've been saying look, you cut him a break. The guy's in his 50s, but I have been of the belief that he's finally hitting that physical decline. I've been saying that for 2 years. But he has such great presence, and he just has, that thing that no one else has where you buy him as legitimate, and so few people have that now, that it almost doesn't matter. And I'm not saying I haven't enjoyed his stuff, but there is a clear physical decline. And that doesn't mean he's not capable of great matches, because his charisma and his aura can carry him to a great match. Even if he has, lost half a step or whatever. But I don't think that there's any way that these two guys can get in the ring with each other and not find a way to have a great match. I mean, that's, my bar for this is great. It needs to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will be.
Yeah, I just can't imagine.
Even if nothing else, it's these two guys, and people
right.
are just going to be so hyped to see them in the same ring and doing their spots to each other.
Yeah.
Which, and Danielson has to win. I mean, he's going to win the match. He has to win the match. So that part of it's kind of a given. He's not going to lose because they're doing this story where he has to climb the rankings. And he's going to have to win all of his matches until, he earns his title shot. So, or, I guess there'll be Hangman at the next one. Or what they could do is he'll climb the rankings and then, someone will beat him and that'll be the feud that occupies him until, he gets his crack at. See, what I think they're going to do, and this is kind of getting off topic a little, I think Hangman is going to beat Omega for the title at Full Gear because I think Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega's feud doesn't need the title. So they'll continue their feud, and that'll be a money feud. And in fact, I think it'll be better without the constraints of the title.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. Yeah, that's like classic ROH booking as well. It's stuff I'm watching right now for the CM Punk and the Bryan Danielson series. I'm watching that right now, and that was something that I even mentioned it in a recent episode. Is something I loved about Ring of Honor is that they understood. Okay, what's a great feud or what's a great thing that we can do? Okay, great. If it's great, we don't need that title. Let somebody else have the title. You know what I mean? Let that guy have the title because we got a great feud here. And that's why guys like a CM Punk never got that title. They got title shots here and there, but they never got that title because they didn't need it. CM Punk and Raven didn't need the ROH World title. Let Xavier have it. You know what I mean? Xavier needs the title. Samoa Joe, who was great at that time, but it worked better with Samoa Joe being like the prize fighter or whatever. Those other guys didn't need that title. And that was what was really cool about Ring of Honor and what's cool about AEW and something that we have been on air for 10 years now saying that WWE largely doesn't make you care all that much about feuds that don't involve a title. Because to them, like, they just don't build those. I mean, the way that they build titles without a, or big matches without a title is usually a guy destroys another guy's car or whatever. You know what I mean? Like those tropes that they always do.
Sure.
But it's very rarely just like guy versus guy, but you care so much about guy versus guy that you don't care what's involved in it or what the stakes are. You just want to see wrestler X beat wrestler Y. And that's what you would do with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. You don't need the title. The title is completely irrelevant to that. You just want to see those two dudes wrestle. And then Hangman, you've told the story now that now this would be a perfect time for him to go and win that title. And he can use that to catapult himself into superstardom. And you got this other feud right there. So I agree. It's all lined up for that to happen. And I hope that is the direction they go.
Yeah, I think I really believe that's how it's going to play out. I don't know if you can. If you do the Hangman match and he did win that dopey chip or whatever, that you can beat him again. They've kind of dragged people along with that for a while now.
Oh, yeah, the casino chip. Yeah, that's no.
It's probably time for him to just win it, and like you said, like we said, there's a money feud waiting for Omega anyway. So you don't, he could just, because I think they Omega Danielson could play course over a year and a half the way Omega Okada did. So you can get a lot of big matches out of that. And I think that's why they initially did the draw. So I do think that's the plan. But, that all leads back to he's going to beat Minoru Suzuki. I don't think there's any...
Oh, yeah. No question.
Any question about that. Now, this last half hour of SmackDown is like talking smack or something, right? Commercial-free talking smack.
Is that the case? I thought it was... I did not know that, actually. Is that actually true? It's just the talking smack?
Someone in the chat room will know. I'm pretty sure the last half hour is not from the arena. I think it's a talking smack episode. And I think that's what's going commercial free. I can't imagine if that's the case that the wrestling fans bouncing back and forth from these shows are going to leave that on instead of putting Rampage on. I mean,
yeah, that's tricky, man.
You're going to flip over to the CM Punk match.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even if you were going to bring Brock Lesnar out there, yeah, I'm very curious. I'm not able to find it right now. I don't want to do too much Googling as we're on the air here, but yeah, maybe someone in the chat room will let us know.
Okay, never mind. The last half hour is the last half hour commercial free is Lynch versus Banks, which speaks to the point we made at the top that that's a huge match for them. So they're putting on their biggest match on the half hour that goes head to head with Rampage, which makes sense. Makes much more sense than doing Talking Smack.
Yeah, that would be death. Talking Smack would be death, yeah.
I think they're running a Talking Smack at some point, and they're replaying.
They're doing, I believe they're doing immediately after, I think, a replay of SmackDown, and then maybe after that, Talking Smack. Or they're doing Talking Smack, or you know what they might be doing is doing Talking Smack, and I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure this out as well.
Well, they're replaying SmackDown immediately at 10:30.
Okay.
Ends. So I don't know where I got Talking Smack from. Maybe they did that last time or something when they were on episode.
You just really like Talking Smack. You just want to hear someone
But
cut
yeah,
a
that's the
promo
other thing.
about how they deserve this or something.
That's
They
the
still
other
do
thing
that?
we need to
They
address
still
too.
do
They're doing a replay of the show to go up against the other half hour of Rampage. I mean, they really are going all out here to
They're gonna
just
fuck around, and
destroy
FS1's gonna say, "Hey, this is great. You guys should be on FS1 all the time." You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's talk of adding a third hour for FS1 to go against Rampage.
Yeah,
every week,
yeah.
Which, who would put that past them? I'm surprised they haven't done it already. The only problem with that is FS1 has so many real sports obligations and contracts that I don't know if you can.
Right. It's not a I mean, it's not a network that you can really like FX. You could, if you really wanted to put it on FXX or whatever, you know what I mean? That is okay. We can bump an episode of whatever, The Simpsons. We can bump that another half hour or whatever. But FS1 is tough. You can't mess with the FS1 schedule that much because there might be. Something on there, especially now, moving forward with a lot more sports coming up over the winter or whatever. There's just a lot of stuff that's on there that might be an issue. So I don't know I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be really curious.
Yeah.
What they do there. But as far as the other buy-in match, we mentioned Bobby Fish versus Lee Moriarty, which is, I mean, not as good as Danielson and Minoru Suzuki, but that's a good match. That's a really, really good match.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
That's two dudes, that are just going to go out there and just. I mean, that Rampage buy-in is it's exceptional wrestling for sure. So,
well, there's breaking news.
Oh,
there's a third match on the buy-in.
What?
Yeah.
What do you got?
It is, and now I lost it. Please stand by.
We're losing the impact here. Let's just go start. We'll start again. We'll edit it. We'll put it in post. Yada yada. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Breaking news.
What, Joe? What are you breaking in with here?
There is a third match.
No way. You're kidding me.
On the buy-in.
You're kidding.
Conte versus Santana Garrett.
Oh. All right.
Get into it.
There you go.
Get into it.
All right, cool. That is definitely a match. That is going to happen on the buy-in.
You would think that this Conte is Bull Nakano the way people talk about her. It's
I think she's good. I think she's good, but I think she's more good in the sense that she's improved a lot. But yeah, like let's reel it in a little bit, guys.
She's fine. She's fine.
And Santana Garrett, sure she'll be great for WoW wrestling in a few months. So.
I think she's in. Didn't she get the graphic?
Oh yeah, did she get the graphic? I have no idea. I mean, she's definitely in. Like I don't know that she's in, but she's definitely in for sure.
I think it got the graphic.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely her scene. So, enjoy.
Yeah.
And then, as we said, a Rampage: CM Punk versus Matt Sydal, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Junior Dos Santos. Hold on a minute. Is that something? Is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing or not. Is Junior Dos Santos a thing in 2021?
I don't think it's a thing. I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference for this, I don't think, if that's what you're asking.
Like, are the MMA rags writing about it, or no? Do they not care that much?
Maybe, but I don't think it's like they're all champing.
It's not John Jones. I mean, if John Jones was there, they would be writing about it.
Well, for a variety of reasons.
For a multitude of reasons. I understand that for a multitude of reasons, John Jones probably will not be.
But I get your points.
Right. I meant somebody of that level that they'd be irresponsible to not write about John Jones making an appearance on this show.
Well, not only that, it would do fucking monster. It would
Right.
make a huge difference because now you're talking about someone who's a bigger star than anybody on either one of these shows. That's not Junior Dos Santos. Former heavyweight champ and all that, and they've been building up this angle. But I'm just saying, in the context of this head-to-head, he's not going to make any difference. Plus, that's going to be in the main event, meaning the go-on last spot for Rampage. So it'll be going up against the SmackDown replay. But they don't care if the SmackDown replay does 200,000 viewers. They just care that it takes anything away from the second half hour of Rampage. So, but yeah, no, I don't think Junior Dos Santos is going to make any kind of appreciable difference, no.
All right, so that is the Friday Night War. We'll see what happens. A lot of takes over the weekend, I'm sure. We'll get from both of those, but that is the SmackDown versus Rampage head-to-head. We'll see how the ratings go. We'll see how that sort of stuff. When do we usually get Friday night ratings? So obviously, like the Fast Nationals usually come out like that Saturday morning or whatever, right? Like pretty quickly Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon or whatever. But the official numbers usually come in what, Monday or so?
Monday.
Monday. Okay, so Monday will be the take day where everybody can.
Well, Saturday will be the take day. If the numbers come out Saturday, they're good for WWE.
Right.
Unless Dave gets a hold. I think Dave Meltzer said he's going to get them because his source is interested in them.
Okay. Okay.
I think he said that on his audio earlier this week. He said his source in the TV world is curious about how this is all going to shake out.
So he'll listen to Dave. If Dave says, "Hey, what are those ratings?" He'll send them over as quick as he can, as opposed to.
He thinks the guy's just going to, have the numbers ready for him, because he said some weeks if the guy's busy, he doesn't get them or whatever. But he says the guy is interested in this Friday. So I think whether they get leaked again or not, I think at minimum Dave is going to have something on Saturday. So Saturday will be your banter day. And then Monday we'll get the final numbers.
If you've got a passion for pumpkin, you've got to get to Dunkin' and pick these up. Our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam. And our delicious pumpkin spice signature latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. And our perfectly pumpkin donuts, munchkins treats, pumpkin muffins, and more. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Pick your pumpkin at Dunkin', like our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew, pumpkin spice signature latte, and our perfectly pumpkin treats. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2. Add a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
All right, let's move on to G1 here, New Japan's G1 Climax. We're getting down there, Joe. We're getting to the nitty-gritty here. Monday the 18th, we're going to get Night 17. That will be the A Block final. And then on the Wednesday, October 20th, Night 18, that will be the B Block final, leading us to our finals. Nights coming up here very soon as well. You are still doing daily G1 audio, patreon.com/Voices Wrestling, $5 tier for that. I know that things have been kind of slowing down a little bit, and you're starting to get that grind a little bit, but do you start getting excited now that we're back in the block finals and we'll know who the finishers are going to be, or are you still kind of trying to figure it out this year for the G1? Because I know it's been kind of up and down for you.
I wouldn't call it excited. I don't dread watching the shows, like, oh, this is a fucking chore, but I'm definitely not excited to watch the shows. I mean, my attitude towards them are the same as the same energy that the shows are putting out. They're just, they're decent little shows for the most part. I'm not, and that's kind of my energy back to them. $5, patreon.com.
Get into it. That sounds incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like great audio. I can't wait.
I'm struggling with the audio. I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking for angles. I'm looking for things to talk about.
Well, I was having a discussion with Jay Michael, who does columns for Voices of Wrestling, and he's doing, like a final night, recaps and historical final night things. And one of the things we talked about at length, and I think that's something that you and I have talked about on the show as well, is that it's just, for me personally, it's getting very hard to because in prior years, I couldn't wait for block final nights, because it's like, all right, let's go. Here are the scenarios. Here's the things. Here's who's facing who. Here's who the match listings are going to be, all that sort of stuff, because it was really cool. And it's not because of the pandemic. It's not because of the clap crowds or whatever. To me, it's largely something that they did even prior to the clap crowds, prior to all the pandemic, all that sort of stuff happening. And doing the multi-nights of Wrestle Kingdom. And now this year, the quote-unquote 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, only 2 are in Tokyo Dome. Don't even ask me. The branding of that is a disaster. But it's just, it doesn't really matter like it used to. You know what I mean? In 2014 and 2015, it was like, the person that we are declaring is going to win this G1, Joe, you had to really know that this guy worthy of main eventing Wrestle Kingdom. And that's what you'd ask me. I would say, well, what about, this guy? He's got a pretty good chance. And you would say, Carl Anderson is not main eventing Wrestle Kingdom, Rich. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. And it was like that, you know what I mean? It felt like that moment, that thing. Whereas now it's like, I don't know. I mean, anybody can main event night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom in a half-filled Tokyo Dome. Yeah, okay. It could be Zack Sabre Jr. It could be, and I mean, literally anybody that's eligible, I think has a realistic chance of doing it. And that's good. That makes it kind of fun for the final few nights, but it doesn't have that same thing. Like, if you're really going to make this prediction, they're going to put the stamp of approval and this guy is going to be the dude. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have that anymore.
No.
And that hurts it a little bit. It makes it less exciting to get, there's not absolutes. You don't know. I know the Wrestle Kingdom main event now, August, whatever, normally in the summer, you knew what the Wrestle Kingdom main event was going to be.
No, yeah. The multiple domes, the multiple Wrestle Kingdom shows have absolutely sucked a lot of the juice out of G1. It's inarguable. But I think if it were a normal G1 in all ways, people would still be into it just for the great matches. So I don't think it would matter as much as it feels like it matters now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think there's also, I mean, it obviously is partially an issue of the pandemic and partially an issue of COVID and partially an issue of how Japan, is handling things or whatever, and it's making it less exciting and it's making Wrestle Kingdom a little less exciting potentially. Who knows what the hell's going to happen by January at this point? But yeah, I don't know. It's just I usually these block nights were way more excited, and I kind of feel bad that we're just going to be like, all right, here's 4 guys and here's how they can potentially win it, but it's the state that we're in right now. But I think ultimately, like, now I've kind of caught up a lot with the G1 Climax. I think it's been a very good G1, not a great G1. I like this year's G1, I think, a little bit better than last year's G1. It's not a classic G1. It's not a vintage G1. We talked about that last week, and that's okay. I think it's been pretty good, but it's not, it's not great. I'm not salivating to watch these final few nights like I was, during the glory years where I just couldn't wait. I'm waking up and I'm anticipating it. We're talking about it. We're doing previews. We're doing, full shows. We're doing this sort of stuff. It's not that level anymore, and that's fine. Like, it might come back to that level in a year. Who knows? But it's been a good G1. It hasn't been bad. I haven't regretted watching any of the G1. It's just hard to get, like, super hyped up about anything going on.
No, and I think next year, presuming things get back to normal and they have their full crew and full crowds and all that, I really think the quality of the shows are going to be great. I don't really have any questions about that, presuming they get everything running back to normal. But I do think they have reached a point now where they're going to have to work real hard to get the interest of the Western fan back. I think they've lost a lot of goodwill for a number of different reasons. And obviously, I think the pandemic is the primary reason. It'd be foolish to say it's not. I know people want to blame a bunch of other things. To some degree, you can blame the push of evil last year and now, this year. To some degree, you can blame, certain corners of the fandom not being interested in Chase Owens and Will Ospreay. But the primary issue here is the pandemic and the crowds and the inability to have the full crews. And I think the G1 shows next year, and I think New Japan in general next year, is probably going to have a great year once things get back to normal. But I don't know. I have my doubts. I mean, I don't think they're going to get all of the Western fans back that they've lost. People have moved on. I think a lot of people have moved on. And I think AEW is scratching the itch for a lot of people. Because for a ton of people, New Japan presented an alternative to WWE. And they have that alternative now, and it's far more accessible. And, I think so that fills that niche for a lot of people. But, circling back to this year's tournament, I don't know. It's, some nights it's kind of a slog to get through. And other nights, they feel a little better. And there have been some really good main events, especially the last few nights. But not to repeat talking points from last week, I've got 2 matches 4.5 in the whole tournament. And I mean, even if I'm on the low end, it's just not what you expect out of a G1.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's been terrible. I think some people are going way overboard. The other way. I don't think it's been awful or terrible or unwatchable or any of those things. Do you need to be on top of it every night and not miss a match? No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. So
you don't feel like you're out of the conversation. There used to be years where, like, if I missed a night, it was just like, fuck, I'm out of the conversation. I don't know what people are talking about. Like, I'm behind. And I caught up with like 4 or 5 days, today or over the last 2 days. I caught up, and it's like, it's not that hard. I mean, a lot of stuff was like spoiler free. I was like, man, I don't even remember who won this match because nobody tweeted about it because they probably got a copyright takedown from TV, the TV network. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's been wild. But anyway, that B block, the final night 17, as we said, Monday, October 18th. Your match order: Satoshi Kojima versus Great Okan, who has been great, by the way. We'll talk about Great Okan here in a sec. A block: Zack Sabre Jr., Tanga Loa. A block: Shingo Takagi, Yujiro. A block: Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano. And, well, it's obviously the A block. Kota Ibushi versus Kenta. So, okay, Joe, A block scenarios, nice and easy. I think you've covered these on the patreon.com/voices of wrestling. There's only 16 different scenarios in play here. So the quick and easy of it, and thank you to the Chris Samsa at the Chris Samsa on Twitter. It essentially comes down to Ibushi. For Ibushi to win, he has to win. Zack Sabre Jr. has to lose. Okay, so nice. Honestly, what do you think about this? Does Ibushi have the cleanest scenario? Stick a needle. We'll talk about that in a sec. We'll do all the other scenarios. Then we'll talk about what we think is most likely. All right, Kenta. He has to win. Shingo has to lose, or both Zack and Shingo win. So does that make sense?
Sure.
Kenta actually has Kenta, weirdly enough, and this is from Chris again, 6 of the 16 scenarios have Kenta winning the block. So he's the quote-unquote most likely to win it by the scenarios, but, whether that will actually happen, we'll see.
Kenta's going to be eliminated before he even gets in the ring.
I would largely agree with that too. Yeah, he's in the main event there with Kota Ibushi. But Zack Sabre Jr., he has to win and Kenta has to lose. So Zack Sabre Jr. beats Tanga Loa earlier in the night, and then Kota Ibushi beats Kenta. Zack Sabre Jr. moves forward and wins. For Shingo, he has to win
because he beat Shingo and Kota Ibushi.
Correct. Yes. So Zack Sabre Jr. he has a pretty clean one. As well. Both he and Ibushi, I think, are the cleanest ones here. Shingo, he's only 2 of the 16 scenarios. What he has to do, he has to win, and both Zack Sabre Jr. and Ibushi have to lose. So Zack Sabre Jr. has to lose to Tanga Loa, and Ibushi has to lose to Kenta. And that's a weird one because Shingo is going to be in the middle of the card. He's going to be against Yujiro Takahashi. God help us. I hope that he beats Yujiro Takahashi, but that's a weird way to do it, too. You know what I mean? Like, those guys get in the main event and Kenta beats Kota Ibushi and then Shingo goes in that way. I mean, they don't tend to do that very often, but who knows with this year's G1? Who knows what they're going to do? To me, the cleanest thing is whether it's Zack Sabre Jr. or Ibushi. To me, that's how I read it. You think Kenta's out before he even gets to the main event. What do you think of all these guys? What percent chance, however you want to do it, percent chances, odds, whatever, for these 4 guys? Like Shingo, what do you think the chances of Shingo moving forward and winning the block is?
This is what I think is going to happen. Shingo beats Yujiro. That's way too big of an upset to do.
Yeah, they can't do that, right? There's no way.
So Shingo is going to beat Yujiro. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to lose to Tanga Loa for 2 reasons. Taichi already lost to Tama Tonga. So now you have the Girls of Destiny both beating the Techers, and then they're going to do a tag title match.
Right.
The second reason is if Sabre wins, then we're guaranteed a multi-person tie, no matter what the result. And I really don't think I'll believe New Japan's going to do a wacky 3 or 4-way tie when I see one.
When they do a coin flip, sack race dependent. Yeah.
All this bullshit. I don't see it. So I think Shingo wins. I think Zack Sabre Jr. loses. And then that eliminates Kenta. And then Kenta's in the role of spoiler. And it becomes very simple. If Kota Ibushi wins, he advances. If Kenta wins, Shingo is through. That's what I think they're going to do. So I don't, I understand there's like 16 different scenarios that can play out. Some of them even involve who wins the Ishii Yano match because of, down card tiebreakers where you have to break ties based on the next person in the standings. I don't think they're doing any of that. I think that it's going to be keep it simple, stupid. And it comes down to Ibushi and Shingo.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Bushi one is strange. I mean, that is, both of those take a lot of balls. You know what I mean? Like Shingo winning as the champion, that's something they do not rarely do. They very, very rarely do that as the top. I thought from the beginning that this would be a great year to do that if they were going to do it. I'm a little weird about Shingo, advancing via beating Yujiro and then just sitting there and waiting for other people to lose. The optics of that is a little strange. So I'm not super, super in love with that. But it's also, I mean, the balls on Bushi for the 3rd time. I mean, I don't hate it, but you're putting him in like a pantheon of like just otherworldly pantheon if you do that. If he wins 3 straight G1s, I mean that I don't know. It's to me that's just
it's like you said, anyone can win the fucking thing.
Right, I know. Maybe I should start separating, my thoughts of what. But to me, that just seems like wow, like that's like that dude is like in the upper echelon of everybody that's ever stepped foot in that company, and maybe he is. Maybe he is. Maybe winning back to back honestly puts him already there. And what the hell matters if he wins 3 in a row? But that just seems. I mean, that's a lot. But to me, he's the cleanest scenario. He's the scenario that makes the most sense to me, and he's the one that leads you to the most the most rewarding conclusion is. He hits the ring. He's got to win. He wins. He holds his hands up. The confetti goes. He holds the trophy. You know what I mean? That works a little bit better than like Shingo having to waltz down there and be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I won. Great. You know what I mean? Like that's just not, I don't know. It always feels weird to do that. And it just seems so much easier to have Kota Ibushi just win, get that 1, 2, 3 and have the confetti rain over him as he's in the ring already. I don't know. Yeah. But then he's a 3-time winner back to back to back. I mean, that's nuts.
I mean, I think it's plausible. It's, it just really opens things up for them to, and plus you have matches for the case in between. We got to throw that wrinkle in there. So we finally saw somebody lose one of those. So it could be anyone. I mean, maybe Naito was intended to win and they feel like they have a return date for him circled and he's just going to beat whoever wins this thing. I mean, any scenario is plausible at this point. Even Kenta, who you wouldn't think of as a traditional Wrestle Kingdom main eventer, but
totally plausible. Totally.
It's the 3 shows. They can, they can put him in that 3rd show that's not in the dome, and where you don't need to draw plus, we don't know what the COVID restrictions are going to be. It could be any one of these guys, but I think that's going to be what it comes down to, and I think. I don't think they're going to do a scenario where somebody wins the final match of the block that isn't advancing. So I think Ibushi will just beat Kenta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, look at it. That's classic Gato booking where Ibushi loses the first 2 matches and you're like,
yeah. As he recovers from COVID and he's trying to, he's got all these issues and you're not sure if he's got his breath back and he was I mean, like now it's even more clear to me that he was working that too because that's the Kota Ibushi. Like, because remember how people were like, oh man, his cardio doesn't seem like it's up to standard or whatever, and he's working. You know what I mean? Those first few nights he was, and maybe I don't know, maybe there was a little bit of truth in that too, that he was kind of working on getting his cardio going. But yeah, it's classic Gato 101. I mean, we talk about vintage and classic G1s. A guy struggling through injury or illness, losing his first 2 matches, then going on a miracle run and then winning it. I mean, that is as classic as it is.
Yeah. So that's I'd love to get wacky here, but I think that's how.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, which is, I mean, I think in itself it's wacky because he's going to be a 3-time champion, 3 straight, and that's pretty wacky in itself. But no other scenario. I just can't. Every time I sit down and try to think of another scenario, none of the other ones sound right. Like that Shingo one that you mentioned to me, I don't know. I just don't see him walking out there. Kota Ibushi loses and there's Shingo walking out with his title being like, ha ha ha, I don't know. That's just,
that's a way for a heel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If that was going to advance evil or whatever, God help us, that would be the way to do that, is like a bunch of dudes fuck up and then evil waltzes out there and you're like, oh my God, how did this guy win it that way? But not, or Jay White. Jay White would be perfect for that too.
Or like when Ishii spoiled Jay White. That's like big moment because it's like, oh, everyone loves Ishii and everyone hates Jay White. Like,
yeah, right.
That's not what this is with Kenta and Ibushi. It would be a heel spoiling it for Kenta and pushing a babyface through. It's weird.
Yeah, it's too strange. And then I guess the Zack Sabre Jr., but again, like you said, that's weird too because he's going to be in second, the first A block match. The Tonga Loa stuff, I mean, it all is perfectly set up. Taichi, Tama Tonga beats Taichi, like you said. So yeah, to me, that's so perfectly set up for Zack Sabre Jr. to lose to Tonga Loa, and him get spoiled by Tonga Loa. So yeah, I think I come down to a bunch, and I always end up with Ibushi. So I think he's doing it. So we'll see. Yeah. Coming out of the A block, it doesn't mean I have to win the whole thing. Honestly, it doesn't mean he has to win the whole thing. We're just talking A block. You know what I mean? Like he could go to the finals and then lose. So it's not necessarily like you have said.
It's just block winners.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess my apprehension of him going 3 straight. Who knows? He could go to the final and then lose, and that's totally possible as well. So B block Wednesday, October 20th. The matches for the block here are Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Taichi, Okada versus Jeff Cobb, Hiroki Goto, Tama Tonga, Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens, and Sonata versus Evil. But obviously the main event is going to be Okada versus Jeff Cobb because they made it nice and clean by Jeff Cobb defeating Evil in the last night of the G1. Okada loses to Tama Tonga, the big upset there, and our B-block scenarios are nice and easy. Jeff Cobb defeats Okada. He wins. He has 18 points. He wins outright. Okada defeats Jeff Cobb. They both have 16, but Okada, of course, would have the tiebreaker, so Okada would win. So nice and clean out of the B-block. The match that's going on last will determine the B-block. Mano a mano, man versus man. There you go. Okada versus Cobb. So, I don't know. Does Cobb do it? Do you think they get crazy and do Cobb, or do you think it's Okada and Ibushi in the final?
No, Okada.
What's your percent chance of Cobb doing it?
0.
0. Not even a little.
Not even a little. Because they're not going to have Cobb beat Okada twice in a row. That Cobb beating Okada was to set this up. We called it when it happened. And like, I'm not even sure if we knew the blocks yet. You know, it's just this, again, classic Gato booking. If Cobb beats Okada, he's going to win the title at Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, that's just, he's on his way to a mega push. And I guess that's not completely impossible, but yeah, I can't see it, because that's when you have a guy like Cobb beat a guy like Okada twice in a row like that, and one of them being a block final in a G1.
Oh, he's made. I mean, that dude
you're making a statement with that. And it's just, it makes too much sense. I mean, because now the whole story is going to be, oh, well, Cobb just beat Okada and he's undefeated and he's an unbeatable monster. And, you know, that's typical of what they do. And I think Okada will win the match. I'm very confident in that. Now, in terms of who I think will win the whole tournament, you know, if it's Okada and Ibushi, I don't know. And and honestly, I don't really think it matters. I think both of them will be in the mix for the Wrestle Kingdom main events anyway. I think they're both going to be involved. And so this is what we were talking about before. It takes the juice out of who wins the actual tournament, because I think, neither one of them are going to be working the third match on the show in a tag team match with Tiger Mask. They're both going to be in main events on those 3 shows.
Yeah.
So it does not really make a difference.
You're not choosing, and ultimately, and that's what was so different about the other G1s, is that you were choosing. It was Kota Ibushi and Okada in the final. You were choosing which person you were declaring like the star of the year. You know what I mean? The guy that's going to main event Wrestle Kingdom, be on the banners, potentially win the title, lead you through the next year. You know, represent the final year, like represent the last year, do all that sort of stuff. That's what you were choosing, and now it's like, I mean, yeah, Ibushi can win, and then Okada will probably be in the night 2 main event. You know what I mean? Going for the same title. Or hell, Ibushi will win the first night, and then he's got to face Okada the next night. Like, guys get equal chances now. Like, you know, they're and especially with that third night. I mean, God, we have no idea what they're going to book that third night. But I mean, given that it's such spaced out, I mean, there's a good chance you're going to get 3 IWGP heavyweight title matches. Yeah. So who cares? You know, like, everyone that's a top star is probably going to get a crack at it. You know, largely. So, I don't know. Yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of steam out of it. So
definitely takes some steam out of it. Because, I really just, I don't think it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
And that sucks. But either way, Jeff Cobb has clearly gotten a big push here. And I think they see something in him, and he's going to be a guy to some degree.
Yeah. He's been great. He has been so good in this G1 too.
Hey, ran through the whole block.
Which is a great booking too. Great booking to have this guy do this. And what I said, you know, what I was talking about, I think off air, is something that I love about the way that they booked him is that now you have a built-in story. When Will does eventually come back, there's a built-in story here where eventually, if you want to do whatever you want to do with Cobb, like, you know, Will can be like, oh, hey, you know, kind of bullying him around or whatever, and Cobb be like, hey, fuck off, man. I scored 16 points in the G1. I was, you know, neck and neck with Okada. I almost went to the fucking finals. So don't, you know, I'm not, you know, your whipping boy here. And that's a cool story already built in. And whenever Will comes back. Right now, Cobb can be all puffy-chested and whatever, but then when Will comes back and tries to put him in his place and say, okay, well, no, I'm the leader, Cobb can be like, well, hold on a minute. Like, wait. While you were gone, doing whatever the hell you were doing, I was out here almost winning the G1. So, no, hold on.
Yeah, that's thinking several steps down the line. But, yeah, I mean, you know, for sure. You know, if they could definitely do something like that. Especially if, you know, they have Ospreay in storyline recruiting other members and everything. So, you know, to beef up the group, you might not necessarily need, but that's for way down the line.
Yeah. God only knows when he's coming back. So,
you know, we'll see if Cobb can win this. If Cobb wins this, I'd be very, very surprised. Very surprised.
That'd be a big thing. And ultimately then he could just go and lose to Kota Ibushi or whatever. But it's still a big thing. Beating Okada, like you said, that's big boy stuff. That's big boy territory. That's really pushing him to another level. So,
well, if he's gonna run through the whole block and then beat Okada again, like, why would he lose to Ibushi? You may as well just have him win.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, fuck. Yeah, I forget he'd be undefeated completely in the block, which is something else that's like incredible. So yeah. All right.
Which, if they were going to do this and it was all going to come down to Cobb and Okada anyway, why didn't Okada just beat Tama Tonga? Like, I don't understand that or like that. I guess it was just to give him a little bit more vulnerability going into the Cobb match. I guess that's the only reason you do it.
Yeah.
Because once Cobb beat Evil, Evil was out. So the Okada match, the Okada result against Tama Tonga was meaningless. It meant nothing.
It kept the draw. It kept the draw alive. Is about the only thing that you have.
It kept the draw. No, because Evil has 2 losses now.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Okay, right.
Yeah. So once Cobb beat Evil, the Okada Tama Tonga match became meaningless. So why not? I would have just had them both come in undefeated. But I guess their train of thought was, we have to have him be a little more, we could give him a little more vulnerability. He's coming off a loss or whatever. But I don't know. I thought it would have made it a hotter match if they were both unbeaten.
I tend to agree. Yeah, I think so too. So,
because Okada's not overcoming anything because he has a loss. Because either way, he wins, he's in. Whether he came in undefeated or with the loss.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was a misstep. No matter who wins the match, I thought that was a misstep. Just have them both come in undefeated.
Yeah, don't even worry about tiebreakers. Just the man who wins here will be outright the G1 champ because he has more points than the other guy, type of thing.
Right, that too. Like, that would even work better too.
Right.
So, and then if Cobb wins now, it's like, well, then what the fuck did Okada lose the top of time?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think to me that tipped off, and that's why I'm sort of with you. I was surprised about the 0%, but show surprised. I was surprised for the art of the show, Joe. But by tipping off, losing to Tama Tonga, it's just like, yeah, because Okada just beats him. It's just like, oh, all right. Unless you want to really say that, like, the loss of Tama Tonga shook Okada to his core, and he, was we're doing that story again, which I don't know if I want that story again. So,
yeah.
That's the only way you could play it, is that he was he was just completely caught off guard by Tama Tonga and couldn't get back on track and just did it. But yeah, I don't know. You could just tell that story where Cobb just beats him too. So yeah. I don't know. But either way, that's what's going on. The 20th again for the B block final, and then the 18th for the A block final, and then the final date of the G1. Joe, I do not have it offhand. Let me get it real quickly here.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, I know it's, what the hell's the date of that? I'm blanking on the 21st. All right, so that will be the final night of the G1. The 20th and the 21st is going to be at Budokan Hall, by the way. So,
yeah,
not that it matters. Does venue really matter? I don't even know why I'm mentioning.
I don't care.
So.
The A block finals on the 18th, and they take a day off.
Yeah,
and then the B block final and the final are back-to-back
nights. Yeah.
At Budokan, so on the 20th and the 21st. So we'll do the G1 final on the show next week.
Right, yeah, because it'll be that morning. So there you go. Yeah.
So the last show that I'll do behind the paywall is the show on the 20th.
Right, yeah. Oh, so good programming note there. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. You will not do a special G1 review of the final night. We'll just talk about the final night here on the Flagship.
I've never done the final night behind the paywall. We've always done it here.
Yeah.
And it works out fine because it's on Thursday.
Yeah.
If it would have been on Friday or something, and then we have to wait a whole nother week.
Yeah, that's ice cold takes.
Then maybe I would have thought about just doing it. But there's no reason, we can get it watched by then. So,
all right, we'll move on to sticking in Japan here. We'll talk about Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah. They had the Noah Grand Square 2021 in Osaka show on October 10th. The big news there, the main event: Nakajima defeats Naomichi Marufuji to win the GHC Heavyweight title. 37 minutes, 18 minutes. What'd you think of Katsuhiko Nakajima versus Marufuji here for the GHC Heavyweight title in the main event? We'll talk about the rest of the show. I guess programming. Did you watch the entire show? I did.
Yeah, I did.
I'm all in on Noah now. I'm back in, Joe.
Oh, you're back in.
I'm back in. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm back in. I'm back in. Unquestionably, I'm a fraud. That's fine.
You'll be back out because they'll do something dumb.
No, yeah, of course. But for now, I'm in. I'm in.
Actually, I'm looking at this. There's a couple matches I didn't watch, but
I'm sure I can fit. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
It's possible not because I actually. Okay, so I didn't.
Oh no, I did see that match. Okay.
I didn't watch the semi because I was running out of time before the show, so I skipped to the main event.
Oh, I got some takes about the semi. So.
Well, all right. Well, you carry that. And there was like one undercard match, and I'm looking at that for some reason. I don't know.
It turns out I actually missed one of the undercard matches too, so we'll see if it's the same one. No, I didn't. No, never mind. I did not. I saw all of it. All right. Let's talk about the GHC Heavyweight Title match, Joe. Nakajima, Marufuji. Nakajima gets the win, defeats Marufuji. I will say, I guess I don't know if this is a hot take. I haven't seen what people have said. I thought both the semifinals were better than this match. I did like this match, but I thought the semifinals were exceptionally good. I thought this match was very good, but I didn't think it was on that level of those semifinals.
Wait, so you mean the tag semi and the junior title match?
No. I mean the semifinals of the
the N1.
Yes, I should have prefaced N1.
I agree.
I do not think Kaito Kiyomiya and Kano versus Sakuraba and Keiji Muto was better than this main event. No, I do not. I agree. I might think there's the junior heavyweight title match, and that'll be my. We'll save that for a bit. Maybe I thought that match was better, but no, I thought both N1 semifinals were better than this match. Do you agree?
I thought Kano Kiyomiya and then Kano Nakajima were both better than this, but I liked this match. I thought Nakajima Marufuji was good. I thought Marufuji, he don't know he's worked hard, but I thought he worked hard here and he was willing to take a beating, which he really doesn't have to do at this point. But it was the right call. The right guy won. We've talked about it a million times. They've done the slow rebuilding of Nakajima. And I think that this title reign will go much better than his title reign did a few years ago, which may have been the worst drawing title reign ever. I have to compare it to some others of any reigns of length anyway. Because by the end of his title reign, he was drawing 900 to Korakuen, in 2017, before COVID was even in anybody's vernacular. So, that title reign did not go well from a business perspective. Everybody knew it. Everyone likes Nakajima, so we all felt bad about it, but it just didn't work. But they have successfully rebuilt him. He's a completely different persona at this point than he was then as sort of the babyface. Now he's just this fucking awesome ass kicker now, and he's been that really since he lost the title. So it was time to put it back on him, and it was the right call. There's no reason to have this title on Marufuji. I think it's very obvious that it was just a matter of Muto not wanting to lose to Nakajima. So they had to put the title on someone else first to get it to Nakajima. Because Muto has not done, if I'm not mistaken, he has not done a job since he signed with Noah. And, whether that's them protecting him for the eventual big loss that he's going to have to somebody, presumably Kiyomiya, or whether that's because he just won't do it, I don't know. But he's got some draws in there, and he's been on the losing end of some tag matches, and he did lose the title to Marufuji. But other than that, he just hasn't done jobs. So I think this was a situation where he probably didn't want to lose to Nakajima. So he was willing to lose to Marufuji, and then Marufuji is sort of the transitional guy. And for Marufuji, it works out because damn well he didn't want to, work an N1 tournament. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do anything.
No, man. He's living life, man. That's a classic, the life of a transitional champion is quite the thing. They're like, hey, you want to win the title? He's like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
why not? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Great. Do I have to do the N1? No. Perfect.
Even better.
Yeah, so great. I'll see you guys in October. So.
But the bottom line is the title's on the right person now.
Yeah.
I think his reign's going to go much better than his one did a few years ago. And it's gotten you back into it. But these Noah shows are good. They're hard hitting. It's a different style than you get with New Japan.
They really are.
Style than you get with All Japan. It's different style. It's most conducive to COVID, I think, their style. So I look forward to where we go now with Nakajima. They're definitely going to be title matches I'm looking forward to more than when Muto was champion. We don't need to beat that dead horse.
Yeah, that's fine. Move on.
And, it was the right guy won. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it was a nice culmination moment, and let's just hope. And I really truly do. I mean, that we've done the Nakajima thing on the show where we've talked about it. We've relitigated his runs in the past, and like you said, there, for fair reasons and not fair reasons, it never felt like it really, ever quite got going. For both, personally and the way Noah was built or whatever. It does feel like now is a great time for him, though. He's so much of a better wrestler now. He gets his persona a little bit. And that's not to say he wasn't a good wrestler before. I think he's just gotten that much better. I think he's really just one of the best in the world right now. He's got the character work down. He's got just a great looking, asshole face to him. It's just, it all works. Like the hair's good, the gear's good, the work's good, the charisma's good. It's all there. So it's like, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I'm really excited to see what, the future holds for the next, weeks, months, whatever, however long it's going to run. Because I think this feels like the true reign for him. This will be the career defining run for him, hopefully. I guess I should say hopefully the career defining run for him, but he has certainly earned it, and it's been a long climb back up, and he finally got there. And yeah, I mean, I like this match. I think it was really, really good. I just think we got so much good work from those other guys, in the G1 semifinals. And Marufuji is fine, but he's totally slowing down now. I mean, I think he was good here. I think he was really, really good here, but like, yeah, it's Marufuji in 2021. You get what you can get. So
yeah.
But a big win here. I like him doing it. Getting it. It's just it worked out pretty well. Well, we should say though, after the match, Masato Tanaka came out to challenge him. So Masato Tanaka versus Nakajima is going to be your first defense here. Joe, I believe that Nakajima will successfully defend his title against Masato Tanaka, but I can't guarantee that because it is no Sour Run guy. So my percent chance is 0.0001%, but I can't say zero. So.
No, I mean, yeah, he's good.
That'd be awesome.
That shows you that the title reign will have some legs because they're going to get him off to a good start with a beatable guy, and then he'll have his first real challenger after that match. Someone will probably challenge him. You know what it'll be? Somebody will win a tag match on the undercard and score the pin, and it won't register, and then they'll come out at the end of the night and be the next challenger, and we'll be like, oh, well, that made sense. So. I kind of thought, well, never mind. We'll talk about it when we get to it. But yeah, so he'll beat Tanaka, and then we'll see where they go from there.
We'll talk about the semi-main here because I think there's some important stuff here. It's Kano and Kaito Kiyomiya defeating Keiji Muto and Kazushi Sakuraba. Kaito Kiyomiya, we've been talking about it for a while now. Finally got the big win. He defeated Sakuraba after Keiji Muto and Sakuraba fucked up a Doomsday device. So.
I didn't see the match.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So what happened is to let you know what happened. I was not very good. I mean, obviously, it's with that being said, it was a 20-minute match thing, with those guys involved. So the finish was Sakuraba has Kiyomiya on his shoulders, and Muto goes to the top rope, and they're going to do the Shining Wizard Doomsday device.
Well, they've been teasing that. In the lead-up.
So they've been teasing it. Then there's some miscommunication. Muda's like, no, too far. No, come closer. And then Sakuraba's like, I can't, what are you doing, man? Let's go. Let's just jump. We got to do this. And hey, maybe it work, maybe you shoot it. And Muda's like, no, bring him closer. And then as he's doing that, it takes too long. Kano gets back in the ring. He kicks Muto off the top rope. Kiyomiya then jumps down, pushes Sakuraba into the ropes, does an Arcana roll, and gets the pinfall over Sakuraba. So,
well, at least they played that into the finish that they were teasing.
Yeah.
That whole way. But you'd like to see Kiyomiya score a pin over this guy in a tag, maybe just to.
Like, this would have been a great moment for that because, and like, I get that maybe the roles had to be reversed because you wanted Muto, but like, what you could have done is, Kano kicks Muto off the top rope and he falls into the ring. And then Kano, or Kiyomiya gets off of Sakuraba's shoulders and sends him to the outside. And then Kano can kind of take out Sakuraba. And then, do whatever. Like, you've established that even if Muto doesn't really want to take a big, he doesn't want to take Kiyomiya's big move or whatever, you can establish that Kano knocked him out from the kick or whatever, if that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a decent compromise there, that Kano knocked him out from the kick and Kiyomiya just took advantage of that kick. And he still has to, he beat him on this night, but he still has to do his move. He hasn't done his move to him yet. He hasn't beaten him. But, like, it's just, just beat him. Like, what are we doing? Just beat him in a tag match. It's not that big.
There's a way to do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have, but that would be, we talked about it. That'd be the traditional booking where he gets him in a tag first, right? So he just had a draw. He's getting a little closer, gets him in a tag, But like we said, who knows if that's even the plan?
No. Yeah.
Who knows if that's even the plan for him to beat this guy eventually? So, they
did. They honestly, to me, they did more in this match, and you can see if you ever watch it. They did more to tease kind of dissension between Sakuraba and Muto than they really did teasing Kiyomiya finally getting the big win over the team,
right.
Because he didn't really get the big win over anybody. He got the big win over Sakuraba, which nobody cares.
Well, I could see Sakuraba Muto doing a little program to.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's a guy
Muto's got that 2-year contract, and he's a spry youngster, so you can do a lot of different things with him.
Sure. We're a year in, right? When did he sign that bad boy?
Probably about a year in, right?
I think so. Yeah, I wonder what the time is. Let me see if I can look up Keiji Muto 2-year contract. What are the options here? That's god damn it, February 14th. Man, time does not fly in 2021. February, he signed the 2-year contract. So okay, well.
Oh.
We'll talk about this in February 2023, Joe.
Right.
The big Keiji Muto, what's he going to do on his final night in Noah? So, a match that I think you could pretty safely skip if you wanted to, Joe. Not that big of a deal. But now we get to my hot take of the night, GHC Junior Heavyweight Title match. You saw this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Hayata defeating Daisuke Harada to retain his title. I like this better than the main event. Am I nuts?
No.
I thought it was great. These guys whooped the shit out of each other for 20 minutes.
I thought might have been Hayata's best singles match. I mean, yes. I can't think of another one.
Sure. That also was going to be my next to my note is best Hayata match ever. Best Hayata match I've ever seen, ? Because I have not seen him Harada's great. I think there's probably many, 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 many times that we can find, great examples of Harada, who, by the way, how is this guy only 34 years old?
He's been around.
How is that possible? He's the same age as me. How's that possible?
Seems about right, doesn't it?
No, I thought he was like 41. I have in my notes like, wow, Harada hasn't missed a step, and then they're like 34-year-old. I'm like, oh man, like he's the same age as me. Like I can't write like, wow, this guy's still got it. Like you'd think, he's starting to get up there in age, but he's still got it.
I don't know why he had that impression.
I don't know why. He feels like he's been around forever, though, right?
I never thought of him as an older wrestler.
I don't know why I did.
I don't know. He's been around a long time, though.
That's what sure. Like, because when did he make his debut? When was his Noah debut? We're talking like
2012 or something when he came in.
Yeah, because he was doing stuff for Osaka forever, and then
probably like 2012.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I always thought of him as an old timer. Maybe it's definitely a me thing because he's not like he doesn't look old. So it's definitely a me thing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else. I don't know.
Maybe because I never really thought of him as an old guy. But yeah, no, this was, and he's had plenty of matches comparable to this one. But I can't think of a Hayata singles match that was this good. The arm work.
Yes.
The arm work was obviously the big piece of psychology here, and Hayata successfully defends the title. So, it doesn't really matter what they do with their juniors; it's a train wreck, as we know. But Hayata's had the title for a while now. All through the summer, at minimum. I know you haven't really been paying attention. But you're not going to believe this. I think he had a defense against Yohei at one point in the summer.
I am stunned.
I know you might not believe that, but didn't you watch that show? Let me pull that up.
I did. Yeah, that does sound familiar. I may have skipped that match, or my eyes glazed over when it was happening. But
no, you definitely didn't watch that. That you were out. We didn't talk about Marufuji Sakuraba title match, so you didn't.
Okay, yeah. No, I did not see that. So if it's on that show, I did not see that match. But it's very possible at some point over the last year, Joe, I have seen Hayata and Yohei face each other.
See, because we had to punt on some of these Noah shows because Rich just isn't.
Because I was a grumpy and I wouldn't watch them.
So no, but this was really, really good. I don't think it was better than the main event, but
I'm not nuts though for thinking that, right?
No, I mean, I don't think you're an insane person, because if you really were into that arm work and everything, and I think the main event probably went a tad too long.
It did, yeah. I was kind of like, all right. And part of it, I was spoiled. To be honest, I was not spoiled for Hayata and Harada. Like, I watched it, pretty recently, and I don't remember who won. So that was kind of cool. I was like, oh shit, I don't remember who won. Nakajima, I knew very well that Nakajima was winning that, and hell, I would have known before, if I didn't get spoiled either. So that kind of played a part in it. It did seem like a little, they were, kicking each other, I'm like, all right, I get it, guys, let's go. I get what you're trying to do here. Where, yeah, I thought Hayata and Harada was a nice tight 20 minutes, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And like you said, Hayata smartly, working over Harada's arm. Harada doing, he just didn't use that arm the rest of the match. He'd go up for like a body slam with one arm or whatever. He'd go up to the top rope and only use the one arm or whatever. And that was really cool. And then he kind of rallies and rallies and rallies. And you think he's got it, you think he's got it, and then Hayata goes, yeah, I know your arm's fucked, and then just gets him in that arm hold. I forget exactly what it was. Bridges through it. Harada tries like hell. He's trying to reach over. Then he just kind of looks over and realizes, I'm fucked. This isn't going to work. And just taps out. Yeah, and it's really, really cool moment there. So, yeah, to me, far and away the best Hayata match I've ever seen. So
it didn't overcomplicate things, just good.
No, just classic pro wrestling. Yeah, just classic pro wrestling 101 for sure.
Yep.
All right, then you know what? Let's
the junior tag title match.
Yeah, you want to go junior tag titles? All right, so this is a quick one, Joe, because we have to go very long. Eita and Nosawa out of the question. They defeat Kotoge and Ohara to win the tag team titles in 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Yes, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. And what's interesting about they were going, man. This match, the bell rang, and Eita and Kotoge and Harara and a little bit of Nosawa were going boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, hey, this thing's getting pretty good. And all of a sudden, boom, done, boom, ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, what happened here? How did this happen? Is it Nosawa's like, nah, man, I ain't going more than 5 minutes. Get the hell out of here. So,
well, they went with a flash pin. I mean, I thought
I didn't mind it. It was cool. It just kind of took me completely by surprise. It just did not feel like it was going to happen.
I felt like Eita and Nosawa winning was like a lock, like the lock of the century.
Oh no, I'm with you there. Yeah,
because it really felt like on the N1 final show that they were getting behind Eita, and I really think the crowd on that show, he really got over with the crowd too on that show. So, and this felt like just a prime time, like unless Eita literally was only booked for this show and they were never bringing him back, they were going to win the match. So the Kotoge Ohara team, I would often forget that they were champions.
Yeah,
I remember coming on this show and talking about how I never fucking do anything with Ohara.
Yeah, he was literally the champion.
He's a tag champion.
Yeah, like, what are they going to do something with this guy?
But that may have been because they've been trading them back and forth. But I don't know. But the point here is, this felt like a title change to me, and it was. And I thought it was, look, I'm not going to complain about 4-minute matches on some of these Puro shows right now. So, you want to mix something like that in and do a finish like this, then I don't have any problem with it. So, and this is a grimy ass team.
Yeah, and it kind of worked. I mean, them getting that quick win is just grimy. Eita gets the mic and they clap for him, and he says, "Don't clap. I don't need your pathetic claps," or whatever. Yeah. I'm just like, oh man, like, how do you not love these dudes? They're just grimy as fuck, and it works. It's pretty awesome. So,
yeah. So,
yeah, Eita fits like a glove in this grime ass team. So, there you go. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how those matches go moving forward. So, all right, what was the match? I don't want to. Which one did you not watch in this undercard?
I did not watch Kotaro Suzuki and Yohei versus Seiki Yoshioka and Yoshinari.
Oh, yeah, you didn't miss much. there.
Did Ogawa, now he's out with an injury. Did it look like he got hurt in that match? Or did
I didn't notice it, but then when I was done watching it, I did see people say that, but I didn't notice the moment when it happened. So no, okay. I don't know. Maybe it was obvious to people that were paying attention to it. I didn't know until, like, that's one of those things that I wish I had known going into the match that he got hurt or that he was hurt, because then I would kind of be like, oh, there it is, or whatever. I don't know if I noticed that. I don't know if I ever saw that happen. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if it was in this match or not, to be honest.
Yeah, so I know he's going to miss some shows, but I don't know if it was a progressive thing or something that happened in the match.
Yeah.
But that's the match I didn't see. Now, we had the M's Alliance, Mochizuki, Masakatsu Funaki, and Masato Tanaka, who we talked about before, and they beat Fujita, Kendo Kashin, and Takashi Sugera. Now, listen, I thought this was really good. And I don't really mind any of these old fucks in the middle of the card like
no,
this.
this is the match to use them, man. Yeah, this is the match to use them. That M's Alliance team rules, though, to be honest. That's a great team. Yeah, that team rocks.
Yeah. And I guess Mochizuki's going to do some more matches with them. I thought for sure that the Ironhead team was going to win. Because, Tor, maybe Mochizuki's going back to Dragon Gate or whatever after his little... But no, the M's Alliance team did win. And Kendo Kashin, for some reason, at the end of the match was up in the fucking rafters. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I was so confused because they're doing the challenges. They're all kind of like, all right, doing the post-match, old Japanese guys just yelling at each other. And all of a sudden they cut to the rafter. How did he get that high? Like, I swore he was in the match. And then 5 minutes later, whatever, he's like in the farthest reaches of the arena. Like, so far away. The camera, you could barely see him. Right? I know. Yeah. I was like, what?
What's he doing?
And then he just went, ah. He made that reaction, or he went, ah. you know exactly the reaction I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. The Coach Kashin's like, I don't need this shit. And then he just left. So
so
now this is the way to use Kendo Kashin, and I'll enjoy it.
I don't mind these old guys doing some meat slapping in the middle of the card.
No,
I don't mind that. I don't want them holding the top title. That's all. So I didn't see that Suzuki and Yohei versus Yoshioka and Ogawa match. We kind of covered that. And then we had the prelims, one of which was the former Alejandro with Manabu Soya as his partner here. And they beat Junta Miyawaki and Masa Kitamiya. I don't know. It was the third match on the card.
There wasn't I really don't know that I have a super hot take about it. It was fine, but it wasn't that great. So
we had Funky Express, Akitoshi Saito, Muhammad Yone, and King Tani.
What do you? I know you're not the biggest fan of these types of gimmicks. What do you think of Funky Express, though?
I think King Tani is owning it.
He's killing it.
And I think Akitoshi Saito looks like he'd rather be doing anything.
Yes, that was my note there. The best part is they come out to this like amazing song, which I'm trying to figure out what the song is. I asked Mark Pickering, and he was like, "Oh, it's Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not. I promise you, it's not."
I think I understand the confusion, though.
They used to use that song. They used it
after they won. They didn't use it coming down.
Oh, God, I didn't even notice that. Okay. So I apologize to Mark because I'm upset at Mark. I'm like, Mark, don't lay me out like that. Because now people think I don't know Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire. I know Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire. I'm wondering about what the song, their walk-up song was. Because even he goes, wow, that's a funky tune. And he says, man, what's that song? They've never used that one before. And I'm like, I want to know. I need to know. But what happens is this, like, just imagine the most 70s disco song you've ever heard in your life. That's the song that comes out. And the first band that comes out is Akitoshi Saito.
Yeah.
And there's just like, rainbow lights everywhere. There's lights everywhere. It's like, do, 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 do. It's just like, motherfucker. And he just walks out with his, his grandma hair and just doesn't want to be bothered at all.
He does have grandma hair.
And it's just
good description.
It's just amazing. You get to, it's the Susumu, with the natural vibes, but even better because it's just like, it's fucking Akitoshi Saito. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Susumu just doesn't really want to dance and is not good at dancing, but he's a good sport about it. Akitoshi Saito looks like he's like, what the fuck? And he doesn't care. He's like, whatever. They're like, hey, what do you want to come out to? And he's like, whatever. Who cares? And then they pick that song. And he's like, no. God damn it. All right, fine. I'll walk out. It's cool. I'm a big fan of King Tani. I'm in. So I'm into Funky Express right now. So.
Taniguchi at least is owning it, and they always seem to beat these bottom Congo guys like a drum. So it was just a little opener for the fans, and then Daiki Inaba and Kai Fujimura beat Kinya Okada and Yasutaka Yano, who these are their basically their young boys. Yano, I think, is still a rookie, and the other dude, Kinya Okada, which is the older one? I think Okada's the older one. And,
I think you're right, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And the other guy came from Wrestle 1 with Inaba. The Kai Fujimura was the Wrestle 1 guy. So it was basically the Wrestle 1 guys beating the Noah Young Boys. So, and it was, nothing special, what it looks like on paper. But overall, I thought it was I enjoyed
easy
the
watch.
show.
Yeah, an easy watch for sure. None of the undercard matches, I think, overstayed their welcome. A good main event, a really good junior heavyweight title match, and a lot of other stuff that was pretty solid. So, yeah, thumbs up. And it was free to watch on Wrestle Universe. So, not bad. I even dabbled in a little Tokyo Joshi Pro, Joe. Did you know that?
Ugh.
Watch the Wrestle Princess 2.
Well, you do you.
Don't watch. I will not. I will tell you right now. Even though I liked it, and I think you would like it to an extent. There is something that happens in the final 2 minutes of the match that would enrage you like no other. So I'm not even.
What is it? I'm never going to watch it. What is it?
Okay, so they have a really good back and forth match. They're just kicking the hell out of each other, beating the hell out of each other. Good stuff. Really, really good stuff from that point. So what happens is Maki Ito gets knocked down by a big kick. And her way of selling is she just screams and starts crying.
Oh, come on.
As in, like, this is over, I'm going to lose.
I've heard enough.
And, like, I don't mind that, like, after the match is done. Like, I don't mind the 1, 2, 3, and then the realization that, fuck, I lost. That's it. The problem is she has that realization while the match is still going on, and it's like, man, if you got the energy to scream and cry, just get up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't use that energy now. Like, when you get knocked down in wrestling, that's supposed to be like you're getting your breath back, you're getting your energy back, you've just been knocked down, you're just in tremendous pain, but she's like screaming and crying and like throwing a fit because she knows it's over. She knows that she's gonna lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's kind of dorky, and I'm like, oh man, like it was really good up until that point, but like that's why I was just like, I can't even recommend this to Joe because I was thinking, oh, I don't know, I might be able to recommend this one to Joe, and then that spot happened, and I was like, I can't. Joe's gonna hate it. Joe's gonna get really upset about it, and he's not gonna like it, and he's not gonna have a good time. But I think it was pretty damn solid. The production of Tokyo Joshi Pro is not bad as well. On Wrestle Universe, they actually have English commentary too. It's Chris Brooks. And Aki, I think is the guy's name. He's one of the Choco Pro guys, unfortunately. So that might also. But Chris Brooks is pretty good at commentary. He's pretty damn good. I did not think he'd be that good. He's really good. I was like, man, who is this? And people were like, Chris Brooks. And I was like, really? Like he's not bad. He's got a future in that. I think it's not bad. He's got a good voice. He obviously knows the stories of Tokyo Joshi Pro. I thought he was really good. I was kind of taken aback by how good he was. So
well, he's found himself a niche over there.
Oh yeah,
credit.
Don't leave, man. He's killing it over there.
He got out of that dead scene, and he's found himself a niche, and he was a guy who didn't even have a hint of any accusations or anything like that. So he keeps his nose clean, and it's he's really found himself a really good niche, kind of like Zack Sabre Jr. He's found himself a niche over there, and he's carved himself out a full-time career in another country, and good for him. I wouldn't watch Choco Pro if it was happening right in front of me, but, different things for different people. Maki Ito, I can't take it. I mean, what you're describing to me just sounds like the antithesis of what I want in my pro wrestling. But yeah, it seems like he's found himself a cool little gig, and it wouldn't surprise me if he backdoors his way into AEW through the connection with Gato Move and Choco Pro and all that shit. So, yeah, I mean, good for him.
But yeah, check that out. So it's free. Why not? So that's a good thing about Wrestle Universe as well, is that you can watch all this stuff, and production's been good, English commentary on all these things. So it's pretty good stuff there. So, Joe, we're gonna get into a few other things. I do have to let you know this episode of the Voices of Wrestling Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at MyBookie, and you can head to mybookie.ag to choose from a variety of boosts and free bets and get in on the fan favorite $100,000 super contest, which only costs $10 to enter. We talked about that a lot. What I want to talk about on this show, though, is the boost and the free bets, because we had another one this week, the debut of the Seattle Kraken. Joe, what was the free bet here? It was just somebody scores a goal in this game, right?
It was just someone scores a goal, you win.
There you go. What I think 3 minutes in, the Golden Knights scored a goal. So. Yeah. You got $25 free by somebody scoring a goal in the Kraken Golden Knights game. It took you 3 minutes to cash out on that. So those free bets, you got to be aware of those. You got to understand. We will usually let you guys know on the show. We'll usually make it aware. But, I mean, you got it. MyBookie.ag, you go there, use that promo code VOICES. You double your first deposit. So, again, you use that promo code VOICES. You put $25 in. They put $25 in. You put $100 in. They'll put $100 in. They'll double your money, so you can double your winnings with that first ever deposit using that promo code VOICES at mybookie.ag. But they're pretty good about announcing those too. So that's why we say get on there, get on mybookie.ag, and be aware of those. I mean, those boosts and those free bets, they're literally free money. They're just, like you said, that one took 3 minutes to hit. Some are a little tougher. There are some that are just layups, and you get $25 free, which that's not bad. $25 free for doing nothing, Joe. It took, 5 seconds to make that bet, and then you got $25. Not bad. So you can do that at mybookie.ag. Promo code VOICES. Again, you do that to double your first deposit. You put $500 in. They'll put $500 in at promo code voices, mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Again, promo code voices. And I'm not aware of any boosts or free bets for this weekend, but obviously you got NFL action, college football, baseball playoffs, NBA, getting some NBA futures bets in there as well as the season's coming up next week. So yeah, plenty of stuff to do. Yeah, can you believe basketball's coming back like next week?
I know.
NBA's back next week. When does college basketball tip off?
Chances are they're going to have an odds boost for when NBA starts. Too,
I would imagine. Keep an eye on that. Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet, but I'd imagine they're going to do like, over under 100 points in a game, and that will clearly hit. Sometimes in the second quarter that'll hit. So,
because they do one for every sport when the season starts. So I would imagine they'll have some kind of wacky odds boost prop that's basically an unlosable bet.
Yeah, LeBron James scores. So, well, I mean, it's barring an injury or whatever. But yeah, check that out, mybookie.ag. But yeah, it seems so wild that sorry, that was my question. When does college basketball start?
I think the first or second week of November 9th, I think.
Wow, yeah. So I always remember the NBA season starting like around like October, like late October, like Halloween or the week. And they have obviously to make the season a little bit, stretch it out, give some people a little bit more rest. They start it now like mid-October, and it's nuts. I got a thing at my work. They're like, "Hey, you want to join the fantasy basketball?" And I'm like, "We got plenty of time." They're like, "No, we have like next week." And I'm going to do hopefully an NBA Intelligentsia at patreon.com/voices of wrestling. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up quickly for the NBA season. So I gotta get ready, man. Gotta do my research, get ready, get those bets in, get those futures bets in. Last year I did not hit on any of them, but I hit on one. Sorry, I hit on one. Portland Trailblazers over. I hit on the win total over.
Oh,
they had him at like 30 or 35 or something like that, and I was like, get out of here. They're gonna win more games than that. And they won, I forget, like 42 or something like that. 40. No, they won. Yeah, what the hell did Portland? They won a decent amount of games last year, if I remember correctly. But I did have Luka Doncic as MVP. That did not happen, and I had the Nuggets going to the finals, and that did not happen.
82
either,
game season this year, right?
Yeah, full slate this year.
Yeah.
The Portland Trailblazers were 42-30, so yeah, they had him at like 35, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. So.
Well, listen, it always feels good to win a bet.
Yeah. We can lose 2, but I won the 1. So I needed that Nuggets, man, because I thought I was being so slick. The Nuggets winning the Western Conference was like so low, and then they were so good all year, and I'm just sitting there. I'm counting the money before it's cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't do that.
And then the playoffs came, and then Jamal Murray got hurt, and then just like little by little, I opened the window, and the money went right out of there.
Yep.
And did not end up working out. So we'll see about this year. But anyway, let's talk some indie stuff in America to kind of close out the show here. We got MLW Fightland. That was last week. We kind of previewed it last week where we said we don't know what matches exactly are going to show up on the air. We've been trying to keep up with MLW a little bit. You're doing MLW stuff for the Thursday tier reviews over at patreon.com/voices of wrestling. So I watched Fightland as well because big time show, big time main event. What we had here, we had 2 matches. We had a very bizarre segment that we'll have to talk about in a bit. And a big news clip that I think we'll start out here with is that Will Ospreay coming to MLW in the fall.
Yeah. Did you notice they blew their big reveal with bad editing?
Yeah. So you said that, and then I watched the show many days later. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Because they're like, Will Ospreay coming to MLW. And I'm like, no, they did it fine. And then like Alicia comes on, she's like, I have big news for you. And I'm like,
yeah,
Will Ospreay is coming to MLW. I'm like, I know, you just played a video about it. So yeah, I did. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what y'all's talking about. They clearly just like ran the video, and then like 6 minutes later, she's like, guys, breaking news. I was like, oh, no, not really.
Yeah, and getting like live reactions from Raj Giri and Andres Hale and all these people, and Dave Meltzer and I forget who the other guy was. Like it was some gigantic reveal, but they ran that commercial bumper first. I think that's supposed to run after that. So they kind of blew their big reveal. But yeah, that's a big get, obviously, for them. And we'll see what kind of stuff they do with him. I don't know if a Hammerstone match is a good fit. You probably want to get him in there with some of those middleweights. But yeah, we'll see. It says coming in the fall. Well, it is the fall, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I want to say he was announced for one of the show. Let me double check to see. I thought that something came out that he was announced for one of the dates. Make his debut in December apparently. So I put the fall. Apparently it was December. They will appear. Ospreay will appear for the company in December when they return to New York City at the Melrose Ballroom. So we don't have a date on that yet, but sometime in December they're going to the Melrose Ballroom.
Yeah.
So there you go. For Ospreay to make his MLW debut. All right, let's talk about the two matches that appeared on the show, though. We had the MLW World Middleweight Championship match. Tajiri, Myron Reed, Arez, and Aramis. Tajiri gets the win. He mists and kicks his way to the MLW World Middleweight Championship.
I mean, he stayed out of the way. If you notice, like he didn't.
Yeah, I was kind of concerned when I saw, because I got a spoiler that he won, and I was just like, oh, man, what are they going to do? You forgot he was in this match during a lot of the periods, and they did that as like design. Like at the end, like those guys, Reed, Arez and Aramis are just bouncing all over the ring, doing all this sort of crazy stuff, and then Tajiri just slides in, miss, kick, and he wins, and that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, and he really just he wasn't a major part of the match until the finish. I mean, he kind of just stayed out of the way. And Arez and Aramis did all their, those guys work together basically on a nightly basis. And so, I don't like him winning the title. I think he's washed up. But if they feel like there's name value there, I don't feel like he got any kind of great reception in the building, in the ECW.
Yeah,
arena,
and this is the former ECW arena for people that don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was good, but not like, oh man, you got to put, got to strap this guy up and use this to sell tickets. Like I didn't get that perception whatsoever.
We've just seen too much. We know what he brings to the table now, and it's not much.
And I mean, it's Tajiri. I mean, yeah, Tajiri's a at one point was a pretty big star, but I don't know. I think we're pretty past that. I mean, honestly, think of the last time Tajiri was like truly relevant.
Well, relevant or good? Because
however you want to answer that. Good, it's been a little bit. So
he finds a way to be relevant no matter where he goes. But yeah, Tajiri hasn't been Tajiri in a long time.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So,
I just mean like if you're like an ECW, because they're trying to play on the ECW arena thing. I mean, dude, that's like it's done there in 2000, right? Like I forget if he even lived through the early parts of 2001 or whatever. But like, all right, and then like he was a relatively big deal in WWE from like 2001 to like 2003 or so, and then he was kind of done. Like so. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm underrating Tajiri's star power, but yeah, he got exactly the reaction I thought he was going to get. But I wonder if they thought he was going to be a bigger nostalgia guy. I don't know.
I mean, he's a name from a long time ago at this point.
Yeah,
yeah. In America, it's
right. There are people listening to this that have never like watched a live like TV. I mean, he was in the Cruiserweight Classic. I know he was in that, but
yes, he was. Yeah, he had to have been in TNA or Impact at some point, right?
Oh man, I forget. He had to, right? There's no way that they let him slide without coming in.
Everyone's been to TNA.
Yeah, as we're finding on the TNA podcast here on this very network, you've got to be kidding me. People every single week they'll do a show and they're like, Vader, that's our show, and people are like, what? Vader? No way. Vader wasn't in Impact, and they're like, he was twice, and then like that blew people's mind about Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
They were like, no way. And then there's the picture of like this bloated, weird looking Kurt Hennig there in Impact. And it's, all right. So I did find the Tajiri TNA run, Joe. They did bring him in to build to one of our favorite shows of all time, Bound for Glory 2014.
Oh, yeah.
So he came in, he did a Manhattan Center run. He teamed with Austin Aries against James Storm and Sonata. Then he was in the Gold Rush tournament. He defeated Robbie E. But then, unfortunately, in the Gold Rush Tournament 5-way, he lost to Austin Aries. So, then TNA Bound for Glory 2014, Tajiri, all caps, and the Great Muta defeat the Revolution, James Storm, and the Great Sonata.
Yeah, that's when
we gotta watch that show. We have to do like a Patreon deep dive with this show again.
That was a fun segment.
That's one of my favorite shows ever.
That was Sonata,
the Great Sonata,
as James Storm's young boy.
Yeah, on
TV. Yeah, and somehow TJP was in the mix with that, and Shira, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude. So the Bound for Glory 2014 is just an absolute blur that it was at Korakuen Hall. There are new listeners that do not know about this, but this is I don't know if this episode is available. If you can find it in our archives, I have no idea. It might be tough to find at this point because our old podcast provider just decided to delete everything. But that was like, I think that's all we talked about for 3 hours was this show. It was just so amazing. It was a great show too. It was like, it wasn't great in the sense that the work was great, but it was just fun as fuck. You have Mike Tenay and Taz in Korakuen Hall. It's TNA and Wrestle 1. You have Minoru Tanaka versus TJP. Ethan Carter III versus Ryota Hama. Big boy. People that don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
MVP for Kazuma Sakamoto. X Division title, Samoa Joe, Kaz Hayashi, and Low-Ki. I mean, this is incredible. You had Andy Wu make an appearance, which just ruined the rest of the show because Taz was obsessed with saying Andy Wu.
Andy Wu. Yeah.
He was like, hey, today, what about that Wu guy? And today's like, all right. Like, it's like, the TNA women's title was like Havoc versus Velvet Sky. And he's like, hey, you think we'll see Andy Wu again? He's like, I don't think we're going to see Andy Wu again. He was obsessed. Andy, woo. Remember, he just kept saying woo. Like, I don't know if he was on the sake or whatever, but man, he was just obsessed with it. The Team 3D thing, you alluded to this pretty recently, I think, on our Discord. Is this when they ran their Bullet Club angle?
They were inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame.
Do you remember that segment?
Yeah, it was like in a little dusty conference room.
It was a conference room, and they shot it in a way that you never saw the audience.
Yeah.
But they like added audio to make it sound like there was like 40,000 people there. So it's like, they're playing the music and they're like, welcome the 2014 TNA Hall of Famers Team 3D. And it's like, and, Bully Ray and Devon are out there in their suits and they're waving. You never see the crowd. Because it was probably Dixie. It was probably a circular table, a cameraman, Dixie, and like, one other guy or whatever. And they're doing like the Hall of Fame speech, the WWE Hall of Fame speeches are, and they're working the crowd. Even though there's probably like 20. They probably made the locker room show up at the very least, the locker room show up.
Yeah.
But so they get inducted to the Hall of Fame, but then carry on.
Yeah, and then they tried to shoot their own angle. They lit 2 Bullet Club shirts on fire to try to shoot their own angle, and of course they got no sold. I mean, completely no sold. Because as people know now, it's 7 years on. They were obviously never part of New Japan. So they tried to angle themselves into New Japan, shoot their own angle, and it failed miserably. It's just a show full of lore, that Bound for Glory. Yeah. It's just full of lore.
The main event of Bound for Glory 2014 is the Tajiri Great Muta, James Storm Great Sonata match we talked about.
Yeah.
The main event. It's Bound for Glory.
Yeah, get into it.
Hall. It's just, that was an incredible show. We definitely need to go back and revisit that show at some point. So, God, Knocked Out Films brings up a great point in the chat room. That was the X Division title match that got spoiled. Remember the controversy that like?
Oh yeah,
somebody came out with the title and there was like, oh my God, there's so much lore on that show. I forgot. It was like a fucking crisis that they, came out and basically just said, we don't care. Here's the result. And like people were like, in Japan, they were like, how dare you, because to give you people an idea, in 2014, when we were talking about it at the time, in America, they don't give a shit. Who cares? This guy's coming on for tapings. He's the champion, whatever, they didn't care. But in Japan, you don't do that. You know what I mean? You don't spoil a title match that you're going to present in Japan. And TNA just didn't care. And Japan got like Wrestle One and Japanese media were on TNA. Like, how dare you have so disrespect for us? It was just a classic, like, somehow TNA fucked up everything possible.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Not understanding the culture and how the wrestling works with the spoilers. Yeah.
Oh, no. Is Sean Cedar right about this? Was this the Typhoon tweet, too?
That I don't know.
Oh my God! If this is the
because when else would it have been? When else the storm is coming?
It had to be. Oh dear God! Okay, so if you don't know, please let people know about this. Oh, we got to do a show about this.
So there was a typhoon about to hit Japan.
Right, like a real life typhoon that's gonna like destroy lives and kill people and stuff. Yeah, right.
So Dixie Carter.
I miss TNA. This TNA doesn't exist anymore, man. This whatever Impact is, it's not this company anymore.
She photoshops James Storm's face on like the satellite
like the Weather
footage.
Channel. Go to Weather go to weather.com and whatever like the thumbnail is for the main story of a typhoon coming to Japan. She copied that and put James Storm's face in the
satellite
middle.
map. Like
right.
the map. So she puts his face on the typhoon that's heading to offshore, coming to Japan, with the caption, "A storm is coming!" Exclamation point! Exclamation point! You know, making light of the typhoon and saying that James Storm is the storm that's coming to Japan. Yeah, that had to be the same show, because when else were they back in Japan? Like, that had to be it.
It had to be,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. That show deserves a deep dive.
That's what I said. It's not even like a Joe and Rich review it for an hour. Like, we got to go in. Like, we got to do 3 hours about this.
Yeah.
Incredible. Oh my God. I did not realize the lore. Oh, the lore of
so
of
much
this.
lore.
But anyway, that was Tajiri. That's our recap of Tajiri's career. All right. So then we had the announcement, the video announcement of Will Ospreay, and then the studio announcement of Will Ospreay. This very bizarre segment. It was Alicia. It was Raj Giri, Andreas Hale. Who was the other? Oh, I feel bad that we're going to...
Emilio Sparks.
Emilio Sparks, that's right. Emilio Sparks. And then live via satellite. The other people are in the building. They're there, live via satellite. Dave Meltzer with a dot of blood on his chin because he had clearly just shaved, and then he cut himself shaving. So
just shaved. He cut himself shaving and then went on camera after he cut himself shaving. Poor Dave.
Which is fair. Like, there's nothing you can do. That's why I don't shave, because it's like, I can't afford to have a cut. So, But it's not because he was like, honey, I gotta shave. I'm gonna be on TV tonight or whatever. And then like, if you've ever nicked yourself shaving, there's no worse feeling. It's not because it hurts. It's just you're like, fuck. You know what I mean? Because it's annoying. It never stops bleeding for some reason.
Never.
It's the worst cut you'll ever have. It just gushes blood for hours on end.
Yeah.
Sucks.
It's like when you are cutting your dog's nails and you nick one.
Oh, yeah.
It never stops bleeding. Like, the dog is just going to bleed to death. That's, you nick yourself shaving, it won't fucking stop.
You're just going to die, yeah. And it's never at a convenient moment. You never nick yourself shaving on a Saturday morning when you're just going to sit at home. It's always right before a wedding, right before a funeral, right before you're going to do something. And no one's going to let you off the hook either. Just like we're not letting Dave off the hook. Nobody lets you off the hook.
Right before the big work review.
You're right. Something at work, a presentation. It's never just on a dumb day when you're not doing anything. It's always on a big day, and you show up, and someone goes like, did a pretty good job on your face there. Hey, you okay? How you doing? Like some dumb comment, and you're like, I know. Thanks.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go on the air for MLW with your bleeding chin. With blood trickling down your chin. So,
was it actually trickling? It was just
it was just
yeah. Okay, I was like, I thought it was just a little like
two red spots, on
working, doing color in MLW. I appreciate it. It's
he probably he's probably still not leaving the house a lot with the pandemic, and probably just shaved an hour before they showed up. And
he claimed on Observer Radio today that he still shaves all the time. Did you hear that story on Observer Radio?
Well, yeah, I did. Yeah,
the mustache. Yeah.
The mustache, Missy Hyatt. So
this segment was very strange and very weird. They're gonna keep doing these, right?
Allegedly,
yeah.
I mean, it's a decent idea, but
I get it. You're getting like legit news people in there. You're getting people. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's just it came across kind of funky, and maybe it's with time. Maybe it's one of those things that within time it'll end up working out pretty well.
Yeah,
and be a decent segment. I think there's a way to definitely do it to make it work. So it was just kind of weird. Smack dab in the middle of this because you had all the momentum from the middleweight title match, and then you get this big glut of time in the middle to do the studio show, and then you get the title for title main event here. No disqualification. Alex Hammerstone, the openweight national champion, versus Jacob Fatu, the MLW World Heavyweight Champion. They've been building this for a year and a half at this point, 2 years. At this point, title for title. Decent match. I liked it. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was like tremendous. I don't think it's like oh my god, you got to go out of your way to watch this. I think solid work. Like I didn't hate that I watched it. I didn't feel like I wasted any time, but I don't know. It was good, but not great. What'd you think?
Well, Hammerstone fucked up his ankle. He couldn't even do the Nightmare Pendulum to finish it.
Yeah.
So, because he couldn't get the guy up. I thought.
For people that know, he rolled his ankle real bad, like real bad. And he put a picture up there later, and it was horrific. Like the idea that he even finished that match is an accomplishment.
Yeah, and I thought it was the best Hammerstone match in a while because he has not looked good. He has not looked good in the ring. The Mods Kruger matches are an absolute disaster. I guess he's had a couple of decent matches. The Tom Lawler match, he was blown up, and then it had a really weird finish. So this was the best Hammerstone match in probably years. I mean, I feel comfortable saying that. He just hasn't looked good. He blows up a lot in the ring. I think he's carrying too much weight. But he gutted his way through this with the injured ankle, and I thought they had an entertaining 3.5-star match. So, and Hammerstone won, which is what people have been waiting for a while. So they're gonna put the double title. I'm sure he'll give up the national title or whatever. But he's been getting the mega push, the rocket strap since really he's been there, and they finally paid it off. And now we see. What they do with him, and if the show ever ends up back on Vice, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. It was on one time. This was on Vice, and now
for the life of me, I cannot explain to you the MLW setup for TV. I have no clue. So anybody asking,
Fusion is still on YouTube.
Yeah, Fusion Alpha. I don't know what the difference between Fusion Alpha and Fusion is. I have no clue. Completely lost.
And it's not. It wasn't on Vice this week. I don't think it's on Vice here. Dark Side. They're running Dark Side all night tonight. What is it supposed to be? Wednesday? Is that what they run it on Wednesday?
They ran it on Thursday. They ran it on Thursday, October 7th was the first Fightland.
Thursday. Okay, so let's see what's going on next Thursday. As Joe reads Cable Guide.
Classic 7 of Joe reads a Cable Guide flying in the air.
No, it's just Dark Side of the Ring all night.
Yep.
4 episodes. Or 3 episodes, whatever.
Okay.
So
I don't
know. I thought they were supposed to have a show on Vice.
I thought so too. Yeah, because production's great. Like that's the thing about MLW is the production's always like really good, and I enjoy watching the show. But I don't know. All right, well, don't get too excited, or just go back on YouTube, I guess, to check that out. So
yeah, I don't know. I
thought that was the whole point was they were going to be the lead into Dark Side, but okay.
It's always very unclear what they're doing.
They're always working. There's always deals
Something's
going.
happening.
There's always deals. There's always meetings. But somehow we're left with not having any clue when to ever actually watch that on TV. So,
and I didn't watch the Fusion this week yet. So
I have not either. Yeah,
maybe they explain this. I don't know. But
I'm gonna guess, Joe, they don't is gonna be my But people are telling us that on Fusion, Hammerstone does give up the title already. So
well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
Ultimate Warrior style. He doesn't need that secondary title anymore.
No. And I think they did the first couple, or at least one Opera Cup match. I don't know if they did a couple, but they started that this week on Fusion too. So I don't fucking know. Maybe, I don't know what's going on with the Vice thing. Maybe the next taping? Who knows? It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Vice and MLW, it's a very, very strange thing with MLW. But I enjoyed the show for what it was, and I'm interested in what I'm very curious about is Jacob Fatu as well. Like, what's next for him if he sticks around in MLW? Because I think he's really, really good, and I think there's a lot of stuff you can do with him. But I know there's been some issues with some places that he's worked, and some other stuff going on. So I don't know what the next step is for him, but I think he's really good, and I think very underrated at this point too. I think there's really a spot for him somewhere, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Yeah. I don't know either. It seems like there's some promotions that are hesitant to book him for whatever reason. Yeah. But, I don't think this is the end for him in MLW. I mean, I think he'll still... No,
I didn't see it that way either. Yeah, I didn't see it that way either. He just seems like a guy who should be doing better or doing bigger stuff, but I don't know. And he's good. If MLW is a good job and you're getting good bookings and you're getting good pay, not bad. I mean, Hammerstone's a guy who although he's starting to take a little bit more indies as well. I know he's going to be in my neck of the woods in the end of October.
Fatu works all kinds of West Coast.
Yeah. So. I mean, maybe it's not a bad gig. You work wherever you want, and then occasionally you show up, you do a string of tapings, then you bounce, and I don't know. Anyway, sticking with the American Indies here, we'll conclude the show with this. GCW, big newsworthy weekend for GCW. They had the GCW Fight Club show October 9th. They had GCW The Aftermath on October 10th. And then the big news that we're going to talk about leading off this segment here is GCW owner Brett Lauderdale confirming that Game Changer Wrestling will run the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, January 23rd, 2022. What do you make of Game Changer running Hammerstein?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big goal for them, and they've been hinting at it. So I don't think the announcement really surprised anybody because they've kind of been tweeting out pictures of Hammerstein and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, good for them. Good for their growth. I mean, they'll probably put a good crowd in it. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they sell it out. without TV, that's impressive as well.
That's an all-time. Yeah, that's a big. I mean, that's I think my biggest thing that I'm going to check is that. I mean, we're talking like an all-time. I mean, that's an all-time story there. Doing it without TV, selling out Hammerstein without a TV deal. I mean, that's just that's awesome. That's incredible for them. So
yeah, I mean they're hot. They've got a hot main event scene, and there's a certain kind of fan that is really into this promotion right now. So we have never taken anything away from them from that perspective. It's not really a promotion for me. I watched a lot of the Saturday show. I did not watch any of the Sunday show.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I did not see any of the
because I'm watching football on Sundays. You're picking apples or whatever the fuck. But I watched the Saturday show, and it was a lot like every other Game Changer show I watch, where, man, I mean, no matter what's on the undercard, it tends to underwhelm, and it's just a bunch of guys doing a bunch of shit. But the main events are always red hot. But I didn't think much of the Moxley Gage match itself. I didn't think that was any kind of, even grading on the Nick Gage curve, because he's all just presence. I mean, he's all guy can barely move. I didn't even think it was like a great Nick Gage match.
I know. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed by this match. I just did. These guys, personally, I really was looking forward to this match. This is the one that I made sure to watch from this night. And yeah, we're getting rough with Nick, and it's unfortunate because like the presence is still there, the aura is still there, the entrance is still there. It's going to be an incredible scene at Hammerstein when he comes out, but we're really getting to that point where it's like, and it feels like he's hurting himself, like he's doing moves, and he like in this match he's trying to do the the back body drop onto the plated glass, and then he lands weird and lands on his knee, and it looks horrific, and he tore his Achilles last year. I mean, these are big things that are. I mean, it wasn't exactly the the greatest athlete in the world either, but he was able to make up for that by just being Nick Gage. You know what I mean? He's just such an incredible presence and such an incredible character and aura around him. But we're starting to really get, once the bell rings, you're starting to lose a little bit of that. And I think the big thing, even for people that do watch GCW a lot, are starting to kind of admit that, like, yeah, even his death matches don't have that same sort of the punch. You know what I mean? They don't have the same sort of vibe that they used to. So it's really just, he comes out, he's a legend, and he'll always, I think, have that. But it's just, we're starting to lose a little bit of that. All right, now it's go time. The match started, and you're going to die. Like, you don't have that as much anymore.
Yeah. And I think the Cardona stuff has kind of ran its course for me, at least. I'm kind of tired of that. But now he's bringing in the inescapable one. What's his wife's name again?
Chelsea Green, the hot mess, Joe. How could you forget the hot mess?
So now Chelsea Green's coming in to feud with the Ally Cat. So get prepared for that one, Rich. Get all fired up about Chelsea Green versus the Ally Cat. Sir, if that was happening in my backyards, I would close the blinds.
I think I'm good. Thank you, though, but I think I'm all right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, it's red hot. No matter where they go, no matter where they run, they've got a packed crowd. I mean, they packed them into that showboat again. There had to be a couple thousand people there, at least 1,500. I didn't see any kind of official number or anything. And the way that they present their wrestling, their fan base just eats it up. These are people, they want to have a beer and just watch people do cool shit. They're not there to see great psychology. They're not there to see great work. They're not there to see a refined, clean product or any kind of slick production. None of that matters to their fan base. And they cater to that fan base and what that fan base is looking for to perfection. And I don't know how far you can go with this. There's obviously going to be limitations that you face in your growth with the style of product it is and very adult oriented and all those sorts of things. But I don't know if they're concerned about that. I think that they would be happy just being an indie that draws enormous crowds and just to ride that wave as long as
why not? Yeah, go for it.
As long as they can do it. The shows are almost never for me. I just don't ever enjoy them start to finish. It's just not my kind of wrestling. The vibe is not for me. Just the overall feel and energy and vibe, it's just not for me. Not on the streams anyway. I've been to live shows and they're a lot of fun. But they're connecting with a certain kind of audience, and it's red hot, and it does feel like it feels like they're peaking now, or may have peaked. So I think it's the perfect time to do something like Hammerstein.
Yeah, why not? I mean, now seems like, I mean, I think definitely I'm with you that whether they've peaked or they're peaking or whatever, it feels like I mean, there was a time, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago where it felt like, man, like, look at this. They were like a hotshot new company that was really kind of, and I know they weren't new, but like they felt like they were new to the scene. A lot of people were discovering them for the first time and finding out about a lot of these guys and really getting into this. And then it kind of became like, sort of ho-hum or, okay, yeah, they're, whatever. Pandemic, whether you credit them or not or whatever, they kind of stuck out through that and we're just like, we're going to keep running and we're going to be, in some cases, literally the only game in town. And that may have helped them build up a bigger audience because people were like, fuck it, I had nothing else to watch. I'll watch some GCW. And the matches and the shows weren't always great during that era, but it may have helped a little bit. And then, I think in large part, and I don't know, I'm not going to give him like 100% of the credit, but I think he probably plays a part in this, Giancarlo being, released from WWE, and he was the guy famous for, doing a lot of the Joey Janela videos and stuff. He gets released, by WWE, comes in back to GCW, and he's, doing a lot of the production stuff. I don't know exactly what he's all doing, but like the production is good. The videos are good. The commentary booth, they've decided and gone in a pretty good direction by bringing in people like a Lenny Leonard and a Dave Prazak. On this night, and I guess, Saturday's show was so newsworthy. Compared to, it's kind of weird that Minoru Suzuki like wrestled and it's just like a complete afterthought over this weekend. But like, Saturday's show had two big things that I thought. The Briscoes coming in to challenge, the Second Gear crew was cool. A really cool moment for the Briscoes to come in there.
I thought they would do that for Hammerstein, but they're doing that before Hammerstein.
Yeah. So I'm with you. That's something I may have saved for that, but they, they probably have the reasons why. And then I thought what was a really, really cool moment, and a very poignant moment for me, was Mick Foley, who came out. We knew that Mick Foley was going to be there. We knew he was going to present the title for the main event or whatever. But what was cool about that, and I think I put it up on Twitter, is that Mick Foley comes out and he cuts a promo in front of the audience. And he's got, for people that have watched Mick Foley for years, when Mick thinks something's cool and he's into something, and when he's just like cashing a check. Those last like 6 months in TNA, he was cashing a check. He didn't care. The first month in TNA, he loved it. The stuff with Randy Orton, he loved. Like the stuff, you can go through, post-retirement, quote unquote, Mick Foley. You can tell when he's into something and when he's just cashing checks and just doesn't really care or whatever. This felt like he cared about this company, that he truly thinks, hey, this is pretty cool. What you guys are doing here is cool as fuck, and I'm into it. And that's a big deal because I really, truly do think that stamp of approval from Mick Foley is a very big deal for a lot of people that you can point to it and say, hey, here's Mick Foley at our shows. He's doing commentary. He's saying great stuff about everybody that's wrestling there. And it doesn't feel like he's just like, oh yeah, the guys in the back, these are great wrestlers. All right, enjoy the show, guys. Like, it wasn't that. Like, he knew the storylines. He made like a fuck Matt Cardona, reference, and the crowd popped big. And then he rolls out and does commentary, for the death match. And it's funny because they say that, like, and I think he mentions that he had a conversation with Brett Lauderdale. And Mick Foley says, hey, can I commentate the main event? And Brett's like, oh, okay. I was going to ask if you wanted to, but yeah, sure. Like, of course. And that, I think, is a big deal, too. So getting that stamp of approval from Mick Foley, I do think is a big deal. Not only being a hardcore legend, but being also just kind of a genre of wrestling fans that respect and admire Mick Foley. That's a big deal. And he did it. He did a lot to legitimize Ring of Honor all those years ago, back in 2004, I believe. Is when he came in. I forget the exact timeline when he came in, but that was a big deal in legitimizing them and getting into the feud with Ricky Steamboat, the garbage wrestling versus the real wrestling, that sort of stuff was a good stuff. Really, really good stuff for Ring of Honor and helped them a lot. And I think this might help them too. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but getting that stamp of approval from Mick Foley, having him be truly invested in it, I think is a big deal. And I think it's something to not underrate how important it might be.
That was a huge get. And they're booking a lot of big names.
Yeah.
Minoru Suzuki is basically on almost at least on every weekend, if not every single show. And Foley, and we just talked about the Briscoes, and they're bringing in a lot of big names. And that's, what you can do. Look, I know nothing about their finances and how much of their money they're putting back into the promotion, but when you're drawing all these big crowds, and then presumably, doing a decent amount of buys on the streams, who knows with that. You could afford to bring in some of these bigger names. So I think it's a good time to try to run Hammerstein, and I think that their fans will rally around that show, and I think that they recognize that that's going to be a great atmosphere, and I think that they'll do very well in that building, and they'll probably either sell it out or come close to selling it out.
I think they'll. I think they will. Yeah, I think if it's a different story if you're saying, hey, we're going to do this multiple times, but saying, hey, on this day in January, we're going to be there, and they're Northeast based, so it's like a lot of those people could drive. It's not that hard to get there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's New York, so it's like if you need an excuse to go to New York, there's your excuse to go to New York. Like, I think it's going to do well, and I think GCW is really good at getting their fan base to really get behind a concept, an idea, or something. And if they're saying, hey, look, let's sell this bitch out, let's go, yeah, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think they will. They'll probably sell it out as well. But that's in 3 months, and I mean, and then we'll see. Getting Moxley to work these shows is a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
That has helped them tremendously. Thunder Rosa showed up as a surprise on these shows. I mean, they're bringing people in and not even announcing them. Some of these big stars, because they don't have to. They're going to sell the shows out anyway.
Psycho Clown, he's coming there. Somebody in the chat room brings that up too. Yeah.
So they kind of have their finger on the pulse of who people want to see too.
Yeah. Smartly.
When it comes to bringing in somebody like Psycho Clown and someone like Thunder Rosa, who gets just these enormous reactions at AEW shows whenever she comes out. So these are people who are massively popular with fans and kind of fit their niche. So especially Psycho Clown in that regard. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing a great job, and I think they set up Suzuki versus Gage for one of the shows coming up. And
that could be awesome or very disappointing.
I mean, the thing is, it's not going to be good, but it'll be good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's just that the aura, the atmosphere will be just everything.
Gage is rough, but you put him in front of that crowd where he's treated like a god.
Yeah.
And he fucking works his ass off, and he wants to please the crowd. He just can't physically do a ton, but he'll force himself to do it. But yeah, there's no negative spin here for them running that building and all the good things they're doing right now. They're red hot. They're by far the biggest indie in the country. You could even make an argument that they're bigger than MLW and Ring of Honor and Impact right now, depending on how you want to measure that. I mean, they're definitely drawing better crowds. I mean, Ring of Honor is not even trying to draw a crowd. They went back to empty building. And when they were selling tickets, well, they did anyway for one taping, but they weren't selling the kind of tickets that these guys were selling with TV.
Right. New Japan, America. I mean, is there a show this weekend? Or is that next weekend?
It depends on the show. I mean, they did really well in LA, and they didn't do as well in Texas, and we'll see how they do in Philly.
Yeah, Philly is the show's this weekend, if I remember correctly, right? What's the date today? Yeah, right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, they definitely draw more fans. And again, it's not just in one city. It's wherever they go.
Yeah.
It's wherever they go.
Oh, yeah, so, they're coming to Chicago for the Nick Gage Invitational, and there's no doubt in my mind that thing's going to be, like, as, packed. For sure.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
They're hot, man. They got it. Yeah, it's good. It's like you said. It's all coming together right now, and this is the perfect time to shoot for the moon and do the Hammerstein thing. And if that is their peak, if that is truly the peak, I mean, that's a bigger peak than a lot of people have ever gotten to. And I think even Brett kind of alluded to that a lot of people have come and go, a lot of these companies have come and go, but we're still here. And yeah, that is a testament to them for sure.
And you just wonder about when the Gage thing finally runs its course, like then what's next? I mean, it's fair to think about and talk about. You're gonna be a big boy promotion, then we're gonna do big boy topics. So what do you do after that?
Right. Yeah.
Can Jordan Oliver be that guy? I don't think so.
Can Jimmy Lloyd be that guy? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just don't feel like, what because Gage, there's definitely a shelf life there. I mean, that guy will wrestle until he drops dead. I mean, it's not a matter of he's going to say, oh, well, you know what? One too many bumps and bruises, guys. I'm going to call it a day. But the allure is eventually going to wear off. I mean, you can only watch his match so many. So at some point, you have to think, what I think they should be concerned with now is what is life after Nick Gage. And that doesn't mean that Nick Gage is going to stop drawing tomorrow, but It's pro wrestling. You always have to think about what's next.
Yep, you got to have that whiteboard with a few names on there of saying, okay, by 2022, we need to have, the end of the year 2022, who are our guys? Like, what's our stories? What's our run? And, like, you bring up, I mean, that's a pretty good point in that, like, the guys that, like, someone like a Mance Warner, you could see. But is Mance going to be there for the long haul? Because that's and it's an ECW thing. ECW ran into the same problem with them, is like, all right, look, like, we can develop guys, we can get the next guy ready, but the next guy that's ready also can't be ready enough for the big companies to scoop up.
I think they have some people who can be lifers because the bigger companies aren't going to have.
Oh, I agree. But are those guys that, like, you want to push
Correct.
as your top guy? Jimmy Lloyd
Right.
is going, like, I don't think they have to worry about Jimmy Lloyd getting scooped up or whatever by anybody, and that's, whatever. And like someone like a Mance Warner, I think you could build Mance Warner as the top guy, but, like, I think that he's probably going to get scooped up at some point by somebody. Alex Colon, I guess, but I don't know. Is he a guy that has that sort of aura?
No.
To be your top guy? I like Alex Colon a lot, but I don't think
people will get mad at that. But he's
I like him. I think he's one of the best deathmatch wrestlers in the world right now. But I don't think
deathmatch guy. Yeah.
But I don't think he's. We're talking Nick. I mean, Nick Gage is a different aura.
Yeah, and it's really unfair to compare anyone to Gage's
right. He's
drawing
the
power
god.
right now.
He's the god of that shit.
Who do you? Yeah,
as
right.
he likes to say. So.
But you got to start getting people ready. And it's. I want to start maybe seeing some evidence of that as we move forward too, where we're like, okay, this is the guy we're building to be the next guy. Because if you don't do that, I don't care how hot you are now. We all listen.
We've
we
been
know
here.
How pro wrestling works.
It's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So that to me is all right. You're running Hammerstein. You're going to sell it out. That's going to be huge and a great night for you and a great. We've arrived. All of those sorts of things. Great for your fans. But what if that's the peak of the emotion here? And then then what do you do? Minoru Suzuki goes back to Japan, and Moxley stops, deciding he doesn't want to go through panes of glass anymore, and then what's next for Gage? Then what's on the table? Have you properly built up AJ Gray or Mance Warner or Matthew Justice or Jordan Oliver or whoever? When Matt Cardona decides he doesn't want to pick glass out of his back anymore. I mean, what do you do then?
Right. Janela, I think, is a guy that's always an interesting case of whether he, whatever happens with him in AEW, and maybe he just becomes like this guy, and then he's maybe a legit guy that you could have. But
I think he'll be there forever, Janela. But
I do too. Yeah.
I feel like though it's this is why I say we could be at or entering the peak of this. When you look at the people they have working for them right now and what it is that's drawing the money and those sorts of things. So it might be time to start attempting to heat some other people up to get them at that level.
Yeah,
so that
I would say any of the three of that, the second gear crew, your AJ Grays, your Mance Warner, your Matthew Justices, those guys feel like the dudes that you could do. And you run the risk with both Justice and Warner that they can get scooped up, and AJ Gray potentially as well. All those guys have like projectable, careers or whatever. So that becomes a little bit of an issue. Is you don't want to run into that. But luckily they're in a situation right now where I don't think anybody's like aggressively scooping guys up like they were, a year or so ago. So maybe you can lay out like a 1 or 2 year plan to really get that guy over. But like you're saying, you want like a guy who is going to be here for. You want a Nick Gage, a guy that like we know every single night that guy's going to go out. He's going to main event our shows, or he's going to semi-main event our shows, and everyone's going to want to watch him wrestle. Like you need guys that are going to be there forever. And yeah, it's interesting. It's the fun part of this. You know what I mean? That's the fun part of wrestling. And sometimes, it doesn't always work for everybody, and many times it doesn't work. But that's the fun to me, is like, okay, we're at this point right now. Let's build some guys up. So you put some guys on a board and you figure out how we're going to build AJ Gray to be, our top star WrestleMania weekend 2023 or whatever. And you could do that. You absolutely can do it. It just takes a little bit of
to me, that's the interesting part of the analysis, is trying to figure out.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
So,
and I think they have people on that roster. It's just nobody seems like they're on that trajectory, like you said.
Right. That's what I mean. Like there's a lot of options, but I'm not. And this is one of the bigger, this is one of the problems that I always talk about with them. The top of the card is great, and they book the top of the card well. There's nothing going on the rest of the card. It's just matches. It's just they're throwing guys in there, and because the crowd is happy with that. As I said, their fans aren't coming there to see character development and work rate and fucking arm work like we just watched with Hayata and Daisuke Harada. They don't care about any of that. They're not interested in that. So it's real easy to book in a lazy way where it's like, oh, we can just do this scramble and we can just throw these two random people together. And, it's just, and then from there, it's like, you're not building the next thing. And that's where you could potentially run into trouble. So, that to me is interesting to look at and explore when it comes to Game Changer.
Absolutely. So that was, I'm sorry. Anything else you wanted to talk about in the shows from the weekend?
No.
That stood out. Yeah, I did not watch any of the Aftermath show, and I only pick and chose some stuff from Fight Club. I watched the internet title, Cardona versus Effie, and then the world title. And then, Shane Mercer and Yoya as well, because Shane Mercer rocks, so never miss an opportunity to watch some Shane Mercer. So we're going to give you guys, 30 minutes of your night back. So we start 30 minutes late, but I think we're done, though. Joe, do you have any other topics?
I do not.
You do not. All right, we're out. So we've that's it for us. So patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, as we said, G1 review coming up pretty soon as well. Continued episodes of CM Punk Best in the World, as well as the Yes Movement. I'm getting stuff together on the Yes Movement as well. So episode 2 of that should be up very, very soon. We got a new deep dive that we released this week as well about the Love Machine Blue Panther feud. So that is an awesome one to check out. We've gotten rave reviews about that one so far. So make sure you definitely check that one out as well. And then, that is it for us. So for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you next time on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship.
If you've got a passion for pumpkin, you've got to get to Dunkin' and pick these up. Our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam. And our delicious pumpkin spice signature latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. And our perfectly pumpkin donuts, munchkins treats, pumpkin muffins, and more. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Pick your pumpkin at Dunkin', like our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew, pumpkin spice signature latte, and our perfectly pumpkin treats. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2 and a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.